Hello everybody, welcome to the Golden Talkies. It's me, ya boy, Jim. I'm joined by my co-host.
That's me.
Dunkachino.
Dunkachino. Guess what, Jamie?
What?
I've been a bit poorly the last few days. Caught the old COVID-19.
You've been a bit ill today, you say?
Yeah, a bit ill today, so I might be coughing a bit and I might not be able to talk as much. So I've brought a friend along for this special episode, Jamie. Here he is. Ross, that's when you speak.
It's a me, Ross Acino. Yeah.
Yay.
Wow.
Yay.
I didn't know you were here at all. I'm scared and threatened.
Yeah, when you send that email to my assistant, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've got a bit of a cough still. I'm going to try and cough away from the microphone. I've also noticed that I'm only hearing about half the things that Jamie says. So this will be a good classic episode.
Yeah, hopefully the internet will remain stable. But now, in the event of it dropping entirely, Ross is here to talk. So that's good.
Yeah, it could be.
Shall I introduce the motion picture we're talking about today?
Yes,
why don't you introduce
but
the
give
premise
Jamie
of this podcast, Ross, first.
Jamie will do the premise,
sure
and then Ross does the Ross. Yeah, go for it. Do it, Jamie. Or Ross.
The premise of this podcast is that we talk about a film that released 50 years ago this week, and it's always this week. We never delay because of sickness of one of the presenters, which would make it 2 weeks ago. It's this week. The film came out 50 years ago this week.
What's the film, Ross?
The film is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is objectively the greatest adaptation of that book. And anyone who says it's not is a fool and should die.
Sounds like there's going to be some.
I'm just an oppressed underclass.
Fun discussions later on. Yeah.
Anyway,
when did the film come out, Jamie?
Shall we? The film came out on June 30th, 1971, I believe.
I thought it was June. I'm pretty sure it was June 28th, 1971.
Definitely.
Big Wikipedia says June the 30th, which is
that.
exactly 7 days ago. According to this recording date.
Exactly.
Don't spoil the recording date, please. Big IMDb says it premiered on the 28th of June, and normally we go by the premiere, but I guess if you want to go by general release this episode, we'll just go by general release, because I guess we got a special guest on, so we can just do whatever the fuck we want, so that's fine.
Not all of us can go to the premieres, unlike you, Duncan, of course.
That's true. Yeah. I was in Chicago in 1971.
It's important that when we are recording late, we go with the date that is more advantageous to us.
Oh shit, that's a good point, yeah. Especially since this episode is probably going to go up at least a day after we recorded it, given that there's going to be
I haven't discussed this with you, Duncan, but I don't think there's going to be there's not going to be another episode this week. This is the one, and then we'll come back.
That's okay then. Because this could be a megasode, because I think Ross has some opinions about the 2005 remake, which we'll get into later, as do you and I, I'm sure, because we watched that. So this will just be a nice long episode with me coughing.
Do you want to know a fun coincidence, by the way, Duncan?
What was that?
June 30th, 1971 was also Wednesday.
It was.
True.
Yeah.
So Ross, here's a bit of trivia that we found out on this podcast, which is that 50 years ago, it's always the same day of the week.
Is it?
Which is pretty wild.
Well, we actually don't know. We don't know if that's going to continue after the leap year because we're bad at maths. But so far
we haven't bothered figuring that out.
So far, every single day has been the same. So
exactly,
it must just be a little quirk.
Anyway,
fair enough.
So
historical
Ross,
context
on this podcast, which I'm sure you're a devoted fan of, the first thing we do is we go into the historical context of what was going on in the world on those dates. So I invite both you and the listener to sit back on a wild ride as I take you through the week in question. Does that sound cushy?
Go for it, Jamie.
Okay, June 28th, 1971. That was the Monday. The creator of Scrabble was lost for words in this article, which says that the National Scrabble competition was staged in London and won by Stephen Haskell, a young teacher. And he got an aggregate score of 1,345 points from 3 games. So that's quite
a lot, isn't it, for Scrabble?
I imagine it's quite a lot if he won the world championship.
Yeah, probably.
Across 3 games, of course.
Yeah, true.
What's it's like 10 is the highest a single letter can be worth, so...
I guess so, and then there's double words and stuff in Scrabble as well, right? So I guess it's...
Mm-hmm.
Is there?
Surely there's something more exciting than the Scrabble Championship. Was there any assassinations or...
There was a certain person's birthday. I'm not sure if Jamie has this on...
Oh, my favourite boy. Let's just work down the list. So,
wait, we got more...
the US Supreme Court overturned the draft evasion conviction of Muhammad Ali. So now he's no longer a criminal, which is good for him. But I'm sure he will never be able to make a comeback, having been out of the boxing way of life for so long. It simply will not happen. It would never take place in a boxing match with a fun rhyming name. And oh, look at this on the birthdays. My favourite human of all time, Elon Musk, American entrepreneur, was born on this day.
On the same day that Willy Wonka came out. There's a certain sort of artistry to that, isn't there? I'm sure he sees himself as a Willy Wonka of the modern age.
Yeah.
No?
But do you think Willy Wonka was born into a family that owned emerald mines, though?
I'm sure the accident rates at their 2 factories are very similar.
I think he was probably born into a family that owned like chocolate mines. No, wait, it's fucking it's in the film. It's in the second the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Or is that
in the 2005
canon?
one? He goes on a colonial adventure and enslaves some indigenous tribe. Yeah,
it's implied that he goes on a colonial adventure in the other ones.
It's a quid pro quo. He offers them indentured servitude for scraps of chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah.
For not even chocolate, cocoa beans, just the raw cocoa beans, yeah.
Yes, cool. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to be paid in cash, Ross. They liked it better.
It's not all about cash, Elon. Wait, I guess Elon.
Yeah, that's what Elon doesn't understand.
If
Elon was able to pay his workers in like Tesla bucks, then they'd be really happy.
Yeah, actually, I think it is a pretty much Elon Musk. The more I think about it, the more I think that it's very appropriate that Elon Musk was born on the day that Willy Wonka premiered.
But it was so good, I need to say it again. Did you hear my dig about the accident rates in their factories? I thought it was very clever.
Yeah, it was a good one. Right, I think we're currently on the second thing of the first day of the week.
On the first day of the week,
third thing.
An Austrian commander of concentration camps named Franz Stangl died, which, interesting to think that people who ran those camps were still alive at this point. Obviously, yes, objectively good. And a mobster called Joseph Colombo was shot dead, and I like his name. So, that's that. June 29th, the Tuesday. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were both sentenced on a drug offence, which is fun.
Oh, so like performance?
Was that just not Mick Jagger? In performance? That film, that was Mick Jagger in performance, and that film definitely very explicitly said that he was taking drugs. So
so this obviously caught him.
Law caught up to him.
Are we still on Tuesday, Jamie?
This is Tuesday.
You missed Muhammad Ali's getting his conviction reversed, which was the Monday.
Ross, I cannot... Okay, right, listener, we have this thing where in the group chat we all share, we say that if someone misses a message and brings it up later, not checking before, they've committed a Ross. If someone says oh, it's my birthday today, I'm having a lovely time, and 4 hours later Ross says, isn't it your birthday today, X? Something like that. Now, listener, I invite you to look back in this podcast about less than 10 minutes ago, where I talked about Muhammad Ali getting his conviction overturned.
I'm just keeping you on your toes, Jamie.
I like the implication.
I don't want this to be a pleasant experience.
I like the implication that Ross signs off all his messages with a kiss. That's a lovely implication that you gave there.
You'd start doing that, Ross. Right.
It would
there was either in the aftermath or the occurrence of the Soyuz 11 landing accident, 2 cosmonauts also died on this day, the Tuesday.
Right.
Yes, and on June 30th, we find that the crew of the Russian space mission Soyuz 11 was found dead upon arrival on Earth, and these were the only people to have ever died in space. which I suppose is good in a way.
Well, what counts as space? Because I actually suppose the people who died in Earth's atmosphere.
Well, I suppose, what's it, 100 kilometers up, and then beyond that, it's space, technically. But I suppose the most dangerous time is, like, re-entry, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it not one of the Apollo things had an accident? Or I guess was that before they got to space?
There's the one where the teacher died, yeah.
They all either blew up before they, like, launched, or they crashed. Like,
no, they launched, and it was pretty immediate. They like...
Yeah, I guess, that's not in space, is it? That makes sense, cool. Yeah. But what about George Clooney?
No, you guys just keep rushing me. I don't even know what you're talking about with George Clooney. I don't see anything about him.
Gravity.
Have you not seen Gravity?
Oh, no, I haven't seen Gravity.
Oh, right, okay. Spoiler alert.
I thought genuinely you were going to be like, oh, George Clooney was born today, you fool.
Apparently Gravity at the time was lauded as this big, feminist, like, oh, let's get women into space. But apparently it's had a really negative perception on female astronauts, apparently.
Really?
I read a news article about how it's actually harmful to female astronauts, yeah.
Why? Because she loses control? Or
yeah, because it makes her seem like incompetent or something like that. It was a while ago I read it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. We all know that women are competent.
We do.
Here's an event that Duncan will be very interested in. On July the 1st, 1971, Britain and Argentina sign an accord about the Falkland Islands. I'm sure Duncan will
we know what happened there, don't we?
We do. Would you like to say what opinion you have about this matter, Duncan, or would you prefer the sweet, blissful blanket of anonymity?
The opinion of what? I don't think there is another opinion you could have. The Falklands are quite clearly British, Jamie. And
wow,
I cannot believe that you are even suggesting otherwise.
Okay, well that's our Argentinian user base gone. I don't
they can fuck off. And I think, Jamie, there was a military fucking government in charge that tried to take the islands and force a bunch of young Argentinians to their death. I don't think it's anything right about that. Everyone on the Falklands is British. They had a referendum that they wanted to stay as part of it. I don't really see how there could be any other argument.
All right. North Carolina became the 38th state to approve lowering the voting age to 18, ratify the 26th Amendment.
Let's not even get started on that.
Duncan, maybe the one person who voted against... it was like a 99.4% in favour of staying in the UK. Like, it was, like 0.06%. Maybe that's the one guy who listens to Golden Talkies. Is the one guy who voted to leave.
We've got 90% of our audience is in Argentina. The other 10% is in the Falklands, and it's only the one guy that voted to leave.
I talk to every listener of Golden Talkies personally. I've gotten to know all of them. We're all great friends, and we spend our time in a secret group chat where we laugh at you, Duncan. That's what we do. That's the Golden Talkies fan base.
Episode 26 has 520 views. So I mean, you have 520 people in this. I
genuinely think, like, Ross, if you look at that one thing, it's the only episode of ours to have gotten a comment like past the first ones. So I think that's.
I comment sometimes.
You do.
No, but this is a comment about this is a bit of comment about the content of the podcast. Like, it's someone that's actually listened to it and picked up on something.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's got a dislike. I've liked it, and there's one dislike, and I've no idea who the dislike is.
I thought YouTube didn't show dislikes
because they were criticizing something I said.
It's only on the YouTube app. On my YouTube app, they've stopped showing dislikes. Yeah. Censorship.
Anyway, the state of Washington became the first to ban sex discrimination. So that's feminism clearly doing well in this time. I mean, it is doing well. It's gathering forward momentum, but it's sad that it was still legal to sexually discriminate at that time. And 26th Amendment ratified. Missy Elliott, the rapper, was born on this day.
Right.
I don't listen to a lot of rap music, so I don't really know her music, but I'm sure it's good.
Didn't you like the... I was going to say, they're not Munchkins, were they? Oompa Loompas. Didn't they, like, rap or something in the 2005? I wouldn't be surprised if they rapped in the 2005
Yeah, they rapped in the 2005 one. They do, yeah.
Do they? What song do they rap in?
It's awful. In the 2005
kind of rapping... The Mike TV one, maybe, they sort of rap in, I guess.
Oh, it might be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have, like, little
They're definitely
interludes.
singing in the other three.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
On July 2nd, the Thursday, I think, the USSR performed an underground nuclear test. Wimbledon women's tennis in an all-Australian final. Yvonne Goolagong beats Margaret Court for the first of two Wimbledon singles titles. and nothing too interesting happens otherwise. Some people are bored, some people die, as is often the case. July 3rd, John Newcombe of Australia is the winner for the Wimbledon men's tennis. And he beats the American Stan Smith from American Dad.
Oh wow.
So,
Ross, you'll be pleased to know that your favourite human being, Julian Assange, was born on this day.
Oh boy. Oh, is he like Australian, or is he just...
Yeah, Australian.
Okay.
Well, he's born in Townsville, which is not a real place.
That sounds made up. That sounds like a kind of like one of these Tim Burton places. Like it's Joe Bloggs from Townsville goes on a wacky adventure.
Do you think when they got to Australia, just like...
Oh shit! Sorry, I started making a joke. You just kept speaking. Is that not where the factory is based in the 2005 film? Is it not in Townsville?
Did they ever say where it is? Because
no, it's interesting, and we'll get to it.
It's nice. The 1971 one. It feels like timeless and like placeless because they recorded in Germany with like British and American actors.
I was going to say the 1971 one feels very specific in its place, whereas the 2005 one has some vagueness.
2005 one, it feels like kind of it's like kind of northern English, like it's got that kind of factory feel, but it's all snowy and it's just, I don't know, it's not as like timeless. It feels
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not liking your opinion so far, Jamie.
I was going to say, do you think that with Townsville, do you think like just after a while, like British colonialists just got fed up having to keep naming new places? So it's like fucking.
Oh, there's a place in England called like. Sorry, go on.
Well, town's not a name, like so and so towns. Like
Townsend is a name. Yeah, you think of Townsend
is an easy one to figure out etymologically. It's like, oh, this is the end of town. It's called Townsend.
Does Ville mean town?
Is literally just means town's town.
No. Ross is saying that it's a surname Townsend. So like,
that'll mean like
town could be
your ancestor
like Billy Town,
he was Peter who lives in the town's end. Yeah,
but that's not this place isn't Townsendville, it's Townsville.
Maybe there's some maybe there was some cunt called like Billy Town that went over to Australia and it was like, I need to form a village. What am I going to call it? Townsville, because
maybe his last name is Billy Sville, and they were like, oh, let's name it Sville Town, and they're like, no, Townsville.
Right. Yeah, I reckon that's probably it.
Another quite important thing happened today, which is that Jim Morrison died of heart failure at 27. Poet and rocker, which is quite sad.
A bit like you then.
I would never die. I can't. Well, finally, July 4th, 1971, France performed a nuclear test. Coco the gorilla was born in the San Francisco Zoo.
Oh, cool! That is actually interesting.
Is that one of the gorillas who's been in loads of films?
No, that's the one that Robin
the gorilla that learned, and I'm doing quotes here, learned sign language.
Oh, right.
An experiment that was
Robin
not
Williams
a hoax.
was good friends with.
Is this who's the very famous lady who is involved with gorillas?
No,
is it the one that she's
Jane
Goodall?
Yeah. Jane Goodall. I'm sure
great.
She met Coco at some point, but that wasn't her thing.
Yeah, I think there's
was like
videos of her meeting it, but I don't think it's. I don't think it's her gorilla.
Yeah,
her.
We are very aggressive about robbing Coco of its humanity here at Golden Talkies.
You know what? I don't believe that Coco could speak. Therefore, I don't believe that it could accurately tell us what gender it is. So, I'm not going to artificially.
Well, if you look at its culture, yeah.
Like, you're the one who took it to a gender place, Duncan. I mean, you're allowed. It's an animal. You're allowed to refer to it as it. But
Well, let's not look at gender. Let's look at sex. Biologically, what sex was it?
Okay.
I think that's a stupid distinction. But
this isn't related to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Should we talk about some motion pictures rather than gorilla
Coco
vaginas?
Was considered by itself and by its handlers to be a female gorilla, and that's all that we need to know.
Yeah.
Regardless, it couldn't. The thing is that it couldn't actually communicate with them. Not really. So we have no way of knowing. Maybe if we really could do sign language, we would.
You saw it with Robin Williams rolling around and saying hi and stuff. Surely it could speak, Jamie.
It's a farce. Coco's taking you all for a ride.
It is. It is not true. I did watch a thing about that. or listened to a podcast, I think, about it. Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Is that also
right.
historical context then?
Yeah. Oh wait, actually, I'll check what the number one song was.
Did Coco die in the last few years?
Coco did die in a couple years ago. Yeah.
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 Wow, the number one song, Jamie, in the UK, was "Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep."
That's not real. That can't be real.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I listened to it.
I believe that's a real song, but it sounds like a song that's like from the 50s. You know, like before
I listened to
what music was.
I listened to it before the start of this recording. It does sound like it's from the 50s, both in name and content, but it was the UK number one. So there you go.
Wow. Awful taste.
It was the Stranger Things of that time. You know, actually, wait, 70s. That'd be like 20 years before, I suppose. It's like us making period films about the 90s now. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. "Get It On" by T-Rex was also in the top 5 in the UK. That's a certified banger.
Nice.
I would say. No.
But you say that "Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep" is not a certified banger.
I would not define it as a certified banger. No.
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice.
Wowie.
Right.
Wowie.
Okay, let's discuss our raison d'etre, a film that needs no introduction, apart from the fact that this is a podcast, so I need to introduce it. So, flash your mind back to the year 1971, something I'm sure you're very unfamiliar with doing, listening to Golden Talkies. We open with the Quaker Oats Company, which is... looking to get into films. That's its deal. It's wanting to get into some family-friendly entertainment. Wholesome, as is the Quaker Oats brand. And so, wouldn't it be nice if there was some film out there that would be able to be a nice, wholesome family film, and also maybe promote some sort of product that Quaker Oats could sell? That would be pretty useful, wouldn't it?
Be pretty lit, as you say, in 1971.
Is Quaker Oats one of these companies where it's like done loads of atrocities, like Nestle and its African?
The exact opposite, actually. I think Quaker Oats has a really good reputation.
Yeah, are they a conglomerate, or are they owned by a conglomerate?
They are owned by Quakers, or at least they were founded by Quakers, and they've always kept that.
They'll be owned by some.
They might be owned by Nestle now, in which case I maybe take some of the stuff back.
No, the only
it's been owned by Pepsi. It's owned by PepsiCo now.
Well, do they not own
PepsiCo?
Sorry?
So, you say they didn't do any atrocities, but did they not go to Loompa-land and, take all the natives out?
Well...
Yeah, their supply chain is slave labor, from
is Wonka just a subsidiary of Quaker, and therefore they can't be held accountable?
Yeah.
It's so far down the chain.
So maybe want to look more into Quaker Oats before I make any definitive statements. But I have heard that they work quite hard in terms of charities and stuff.
Have they paid us? Have they paid us, Jamie, to talk good about them?
No.
Right. Fucking stop. Other oat brands are available. That's all we need to say.
Regardless, the 10-year-old daughter of the director Mel Stuart had read the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, as it was called, as I'm sure most people know, and she persuaded her father to try to get a film made out of it, and he showed it to the producer, he showed it to the Quaker Oats, and convinced them, despite their lack of experience in film, to buy the rights to the book, and this way they could, produce a film in order to advertise the new product, which would be the Quaker Oats Wonka bar. So that's pretty interesting. Have either of you guys had a Wonka bar?
Yeah. In the 2005 one, they tried to recreate the campaign because the Quaker Oats campaign failed because the chocolate melted because they did the recipe wrong. But in 2005, they made Wonka bars, and I remember having them. I was at Hollandsey or some island somewhere, and I had them, and I was really disappointed because it was inferior to pre-Kraft Cadbury.
Yeah.
Oh man, pre-Kraft Cadbury. Fuck. Oh. That's something interesting. I wonder how many ad campaigns have been inspired by Willy Wonka, because I feel like it's very common nowadays to have a campaign that's find X within our chocolate
This-
bar. Like find. Do you remember there was the other year there was like the find the white cream egg,
Yeah.
and like stuff
What
like
if
that.
some bloke found it and just ate it? You know, I never heard of that.
I would have been. I was really. Do you know what I was really hoping is that they were doing the white cream eggs like the first year as like a find one and you'll get whatever, and then they would just release them normally the next year because they'd got all the hype, but they never did. And I really want a white cream egg. So
that would be too much.
Delicious.
I think that's too little flavor for a cream egg. I feel that would just be sugar.
Yeah,
You know?
that's
Yeah, there's a nice
great.
contrast between the milk chocolate and the whatever sugary mush is in the inside. Yeah.
Have you seen? There's a Reddit post or something about someone who like got a cream egg and like I can't remember, something's off about it. I think the inside icing's the wrong color, and like he emailed in and he's like, I was wondering if I won a competition, and they emailed back and like, no, I'm sorry, there's been a factory error.
Do you know what color the icing was on the inside?
I don't think it was like
was
suspicious.
gold.
I think it was like
It was gold.
no, it wasn't gold. No, yeah, it was yellow.
It could have been. It could have been just the yellow bit. The whatever.
Yeah, you'd
Maybe
probably
that was
think
it,
that
yeah.
you won a competition for that then. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be
Like if it's blood coloured, you think it would be wrong, but yellow, that's yeah.
Find the blood-colored cream egg.
Find the
But
cream
anyway,
egg
yeah,
with
this
raw
guy
meat
Fox.
inside.
Do you think places ran these kind of campaigns like find the X before Charlie and Chocolate Factory became a big thing, or do you think Willy Wonka?
Well, the issue is that like it could be
created the idea.
that they took inspiration from the book, or it could be that the book took inspiration from the sort of thing that already happened.
Well, that's what I'm fucking asking, Jamie. You're not answering me.
Well,
You're just saying
No,
it could
well,
be either.
Roald Dahl, his experience was. Have you ever read Boy by Roald Dahl?
No.
I think
Boy-
so. Yeah,
Roald Dahl's he's a fellow member of the Norwegian British diaspora. Fuck
he is. Yeah.
And he went to it's like Repton or something like that, and which is I think that's the one where Clarkson went to, and
Repton. I think I met some people from Repton once. Isn't that funny?
And
Yeah.
it's like one of these old boarding schools, and his Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or the book's Charlie and Chocolate Factory, yeah, that was directly inspired by like his local, like there's a chocolate shop and there's all these. You know, it was a really fun thing. It's like back in the 1800s, like these chocolate companies owned towns, and then instead of paying their
really nice
employees,
houses
they paid their employees
North
in like
England were made by
in-game
Cadbury, weren't
currency. Sorry.
So a lot of like really nice houses in like England are built by the Cadbury company, weren't they, for their workers?
Yeah.
They were like big philanthropist boys.
Yeah, but they didn't
Well, I
really
say
pay them money. They
philanthropist,
paid
but-
them in like Cadbury tokens that were only like you could only buy Cadbury stuff. with
I
it.
say
Yeah.
philanthropists. I mean, they built quite nice houses really close to the factory so that the workers would spend less time commuting. That sort of philanthropy.
Yeah, they polished
you
the
know.
turd that is indentured servitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Upon reflection, I don't think I have met anyone from Repton. I think it was a different posh boarding school. So there you go.
Very nice.
Could be
Nice little
Repton
update.
School to buy because they have one in Dubai.
I saw that. Yeah.
Anyway, my suspicion is that those kind of campaigns came first, and I have two reasons for this. Okay, number one,
Yeah.
I don't think obviously there were big brands at this time, but there weren't that many that would be like nationwide. So I'm a little suspicious of how many would do such a thing. And secondly, I'm pretty sure I remember people. Also, Willy Wonka wasn't a very popular film for a very long time, and it sort of enjoyed a revival later. So I'm assuming that it didn't have that big a presence in the American conscience until sort of the 90s or so, because that's when it did its second theatrical
Yeah, especially
run
considering
and
the
made a lot more
chocolate
money.
fails. Like the actual ad campaign did fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I would
that's my guess.
I would also think that the like computing and stuff would probably have helped a lot with the ability to run that kind of campaign. Because most of the ones nowadays come with like a code. You know, it's not so much that you found a white cream egg. It's that the white cream egg has like a code inside, or like if you buy some
how do you
cereal,
prevent
it's like a
fraud and
special
stuff?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
But,
for example, the forgery in the film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
In this film, in both versions of the film and the book, somewhat strangely. But,
well,
so yeah, So in terms of casting for this film, we know quite famously that Gene Wilder appears on the poster. So I don't think I'm spoiling anything here, and I think most people know the film exists. But apparently, all 6 members of Monty Python wanted to play Wonka.
yes.
So I was going to
read that.
ask between the two of you, which Monty Python member do you think would have been best?
Oh man,
I think you're overassuming my knowledge of the Monty Python members.
All right, okay, I'll go through them. You got Graham Chapman. Graham Chapman played Arthur and Brian in the films. Okay. You got John
again,
Cleese,
Jamie. You're massively overestimating my.
Have you not seen either of those films?
Yeah, I have, but like not religiously.
Well, you should know who played the main character in both of them. That's not that big an ask.
I think that's a really hard question, actually.
Okay, look, Duncan, don't say anything. This is just for the listener now, not you and your weird amnesic experience.
I don't see anything.
There's Graham Chapman, who played the main character, Arthur, in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. He played Brian in The Life of Brian. There's John Cleese, who is extremely famous, and you definitely know because you once guided into the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Eric Idle. Eric Idle is the one who sings Always Look on the Bright Side of Life.
Right, yeah.
There's Terry Gilliam. He did the animations, and he's also a very famous director. He directed Brazil and Time Bandits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not seen
Then there's Terry Jones. Terry Jones was the one who always played the housewives, and he plays Brian's mother in Life of Brian.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
He's the one who cross-dresses the most. And then there's Michael Palin, who now
That's
does
Sir Michael
documentaries on
Palin to you.
trains.
He was knighted recently.
Sir Michael Palin to me, yes.
He's a
And he
documentarian,
goes around on trains a lot now.
He does.
Out of those, out of the ones you remember, Duncan, which sounds like it's all of them other than Graham Chapman, which one do you think would have been the best Wonka?
Fuck! Don't make me laugh. I can't really see any of them. I just think what's his name? Gene Wilder, is that his name? Yeah. I think he plays it just really perfectly. I guess probably maybe Terry Jones. Maybe.
I'm surprised at that answer. Interesting.
It looks like the Graham Chapman guy, if I fucking knew who he was, based on his picture, could do it. I've never seen him in my pop, so I'm not sure.
I know there's one person I wouldn't choose to play Willy Wonka, and that person is Johnny Depp.
Wow.
Just getting your jibes in. I was going to say, I think Eric Idle would actually be quite good at it. I think he's got the right level of enthusiasm. I think he could do a lot with the role. He's quite whimsical as well.
Eric
That's my
Idle.
other.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess.
But again,
does he have the darkness,
you're overassuming my intake of these films.
None of them were big enough names at that time, and they were considered for the roles in Tim Burton's, but obviously didn't get it, as Ross has so nicely reminded us.
Yeah. Eric Idle should have played the teacher. You know, there's like a knockoff Python.
Oh, I
plays
fucking
the teacher.
I loved the teacher character.
Yeah.
That was just fucking, man. This film we've not even talked about the film yet, but it's really
we haven't talked about the plot yet. I'm worried that we're going to go for dark. Other producers considered were Fred Astaire. Sorry, other people considered by the producers were Fred Astaire, Joel Grey, who I've not heard of, Ron Moody, and John Pertwee, who was the third Doctor Who.
Oh. Was this pre-Third Doctor, or because Third Doctor was in colour?
Good point. It must have been. No, it must have been post-Third Doctor, I think, given the time. I'm going to check now, because you are actually making me kind of consider. Oh, no, it's during Third Doctor.
Oh, that makes sense, because he'd be a well-known chap.
Well, not in America.
Yeah, actually, if they, I don't know why they would consider him as Doctor Who and not Monty Python if they wanted an American audience. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I suppose I don't know how famous Monty Python was at this time, or like if its fame's just sort of increased throughout the years. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that
because Monty Python wasn't popular in America because that's what the films were trying to do. The films were trying to. They did like a kind of clip show film, which was really unpopular, and that was them trying to break in. And then they did the actual films.
Yeah, I was going to say because none of the films had large budgets because like the first one's all Holy Grail's just all filmed in the same location. Yeah. And I know George Harrison personally financed Life of Brian, so presumably they can't have been that popular at the time. Although maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know. It's true.
Maybe I don't know. Spike Milligan was who Roald Dahl wanted to play, which is quite interesting given that I didn't really know him as much of an actor, more of a writer, but I guess he is.
Have you ever seen him on a talk show? He's really charismatic.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I guess maybe that's why. Yeah. But again, that's British, which isn't what the American producers want. Peter Sellers reportedly begged Roald Dahl for the role, who I also think would probably have been quite good at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's discuss the film itself, because we're clearly straining.
It's a masterpiece.
It is actually a really good
is it a master? It's a fantastic film. It's great. There's a few little things which annoy me, but like it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
First, immediate note that I have written down on this film: we are open on a quiet town, and to me, it is immediately obvious that everyone in this stupid film is American, and that upset me. I realised that it's logical, but I wasn't expecting it being only familiar. I should establish I only had watched the 2005 one before this week.
Oh, Jamie,
I was watching this for the first time.
Jamie.
Oh, Jamie, poor.
Well, in the 2005 one, you have British actors like is it Freddie High something?
Freddie Highmore.
Yeah, it's him as a young British boy. He says the word candy, and candy coming out of a British boy's mouth sounds wrong. It's like
anything coming out of a British boy's mouth sounds wrong unless you're an alderman. Wait, an alderman. What's a priest? That's what I was thinking.
It's like, I don't know if you guys have seen The Haunting of Bly Manor, but like in The Haunting of Bly Manor, you have it's like young British as a boy and a girl. They, instead of saying maths, they say math.
Oh, I really hate
and it's like, it's wrong.
The 2005 one, Ross, is trying to go for a vague place which is both British and American. And so, whilst you got to pick an accent, is obviously
the humour in the film is very British, though. It has a British feel to it.
Well, regardless, so like in that film, they...
Yeah, 1971.
Yeah, it does. I agree.
Well, it's based on a British book, but it is definitively in America. You cannot...
Well, you've got the British teacher. You've got Tim Burton as the man with the artificial intelligence. Well, there's some globetrotting. Go to Germany. You go to a British nut factory, and presumably Yorkshire somewhere.
Yeah. Look, all I'm saying is that the town Charlie and the chocolate factory are in is definitely meant to be an American town. Whereas in the 2005 one, there's some ambiguity because everyone there speaks with a British accent, but they use American money and they say words like candy.
Well, no, in the 2005 one, they actually use when Charlie finds the note in the gutter. And in the 1971 one, it's a coin. In the 2005 one, it's a note, and the note is like Arabic lettering on it.
Well, there you go. It's a bit more ambiguous.
Right.
Whereas,
we're executed worse.
We're somewhere in Arabia.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that in this British classic.
Is that, or have I done a Oriental again?
I think it's close, but not quite the same. Just pretend you're talking about Lawrence in Arabia as you are.
I'm talking about the Arabian Peninsula. That's what I'm talking about.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. First song of the film is called Candyman.
Actually, Jamie, you've skipped over a very important bit, which is the actual beginning. You're way into the depths of Act 1. The very beginning is... At the beginning of this podcast, you described the 2005 one as a remake, but it's kind of a remake, but also a separate adaptation. The 2005 one remakes the beginning of the 1971 one, which is the creation of chocolate. And the 1971 one is great because it's actual chocolate production. It's filmed like a documentary.
Yeah.
The 2005 one's fucking shit. It's awful. It's all these very dark and gloomy, kind of cyan-coloured chocolate, and you see Willy Wonka inverted quotes there, place the golden tickets into the chocolate, but it's CGI gloves.
Yeah.
When at the beginning
Look, Ross, that's just 2005, baby. I don't look at these films and go, oh, they have silly haircuts, I can't get into it. And therefore I can't go,
those CGI gloves.
It's
no,
dark,
Jamie,
and
Jamie.
they overuse CGI.
Jamie, I've got a lot of opinions about this because the whole magic of the first one that we're about to get into is how amazing the practical effects are. And there's no reason that 2005 one could not have also used practical effects. They knew how shit the CGI looked. I refuse to believe that those films did not know how shit the CGI looked.
But no, people in 2005 didn't know how shit CGI looked. That was the whole problem. That's why we have to wipe that era from history.
But the very beginning of the film, it shows a clear difference between the two. The beginning one, 1971, actually shows real-life practical creation of chocolate. 2005 begins with the same sequence, just Tim Burton masturbating his style all over the screen with awful CGI. No. And then we go into the town, and then...
It's a fancy. It's not about an actual chocolate factory in the 2005 one. It's like, wow, look at this. Like, it's industry, but it's also a little bit peculiar. It's interesting.
But that's
it's
wrong.
Intriguing.
Though. The way that
you're wrong,
the structure of this. No, Jamie, you're not wrong. Tim Burton is wrong for the way he's structured.
So,
yeah, sorry.
The first note that I wrote down, Jamie, is the Candyman can is a banger. So I hope that's what you were about to say when you started talking about the Candyman can.
I just find it's a really good song listened to in isolation, and yet as soon as you ground it in some sort of context, it immediately sounds incredibly strange.
Oh,
Jesus Christ, Jamie,
that's very sad.
Do you know what? So what I've realised so far is that the three of us obviously had childhoods in the same era, but clearly Ross and I were brought up on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and Jamie was brought up on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And this is fully reflected in our opinions on the two films.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly,
Jamie, but we're all objectively right, obviously.
When did you watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Ross, first? Do you remember?
On a VHS at my grandparents' house.
Yeah, same. Because I kind of both of these films were like very much part of my childhood. But I remember.
Yeah, because I remember I saw the 2005 one. Yeah, I liked the original one, and I remember going to see the 2005 one in cinemas as a young boy, having watched the 1971 one already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't go see it in cinemas, but like I definitely saw it, and just it wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And clearly Jamie
one interesting thing is Jamie's opinion that he likes the song in isolation but not in the context of the film is exactly my opinion for another song in the film, which is Cheer Up Charlie. Because the music in this film is great. The music in the film is great, and I disagree with Jamie. This song is great. It really works. Cheer Up Charlie
sounds like a paedophile. That's my actual opinion. I was being polite. Ross has crossed the line, so I'm saying it now.
You think the Candyman's
a paedophile? Actually, he does. He
sings so gently
lots
to
of
all
eye
those
contact
children,
with children.
and then he...
This is a problem. This is a problem of this day and age. Anyone who interacts with children in a positive manner is immediately branded a paedophile, especially if they're an adult male. And I think that's really problematic.
Are you sad you can't smile and make eye contact with children, Duncan?
I'm saying if you work in a fucking sweet shop, you're allowed to get on with children and have a little bit of banter with them.
But you're allowed to sing to them and like give them free sweets and talk about how you'll transform their world.
Yes, because you're a nice adult that can be trusted. Not everyone's fucking out to fiddle kiddies, Jamie. Like unlike you.
Yeah, Duncan. Someone somewhere was saying this about Rolf Harris at this exact moment 50 years ago.
Oh no!
Think about that.
I mean, it's true.
This sequence has I laugh with the film, but the only time I laugh at the film is there's a single shot in the Candyman song when all the children are they've got their hands to the air and they're all saying me, and it's just the worst shot because there's some of the children are smiling, the other one's like grimacing, and it's bizarre. It's a bizarre shot within an otherwise really well choreographed sequence.
Yeah,
he is very cavalier with the candy as well, and I just don't think that's an acceptable business model.
So, Jimmy, do you think that lollipop men are paedophiles because they like say hello to children on the way to school?
The lollipop man says, "Hi, how you doing, Bucko?" and like maybe asks you like if you like have a.
Do you see how are you doing, Blacko, Jamie? That's awful.
No, Bucko.
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 God.
If the lollipop man sang a little song about how he was going to make your day beautiful and bright, then yes, I would find that weird.
Right. Fucking
Jamie.
Some people just want to cheer children up, Jamie, and I didn't realize that was a fucking crime. Children should be miserable, I guess, all day, because if any adult wants to have a good time, they're obviously a paedophile. Jesus.
Jamie, I think that
we finally got to this.
In the structure of the story, though, what the 2005 one gets wrong, what the 1971 one gets, is the empathy for Charlie, because you have all the children being, having this candy, as they say, chucked at them. They're all having they're having a gay old time with all this candy because they don't have any financial, troubles. But Charlie can't because he's poor. And the poverty is really well depicted because you really feel for Charlie, especially when you have this amazing song and then it cuts to Charlie looking in through the window.
I bet you the Candyman charges all the... Do you know what? I don't think the Candyman is a paedophile. I think he's a clever, as Jamie would say, capitalist scum.
A shrewd businessman.
He tricks all the children into like taking all the candy, and he says, by the way, that will be $10. By the way, that will be $15. And then they pay because they're, unlike Charlie, they can afford it.
Yeah, I would say a difference between the 2005 film and this film is that it's not really established beyond the presence of the song why Charlie is so obsessed with chocolate and sweets in particular. Whereas in the 2005 one, they include the story about, you know, how important the factory was both to his family and like how he's interested in Willy Wonka, and the story with the prince, and like it's much more clearly established why Willy Wonka's factory is this cool and fantastical place and mysterious. Whereas in the original one, the only reason we have to be interested in it is that no one knows who works there, and that's
I do agree. I do like the some of the history that you get in the 2005 one. That is its one redeeming feature is some of the like backstory you get about the factory and about the town and stuff. Definitely.
I prefer more mysterious though. Like, you know, he in 1971, it's the whole kind of Heath Ledger, you know, Joker in The Dark Knight. You have no idea who he is, which makes him that more mysterious. And when you kind of
that's true.
Peel back the curtain, although you do get a satisfying emotional arc with Christopher Lee, it's like you do lose a bit of that, like, you've no idea what Willy Wonka's doing, like what his intentions are.
And the good news, of course, is that they're making a prequel with Timothy, what's his name?
Or Burning Questions.
Directed by the director Paddington, though.
Timothy what?
Like, I mean,
Paddington 2, of course, being the highest rated film on Letterboxd, I think, or IMDb, is it? One of them.
Rotten Tomatoes is the one that's famous.
Not the other two, yeah.
I don't think anyone gives a shit what the highest rated film on Letterboxd is.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Letterboxd. I don't even use it.
Funny. What was I going to say? Oh,
right.
We're still in Act 1.
Okay. Yes. So after the Candyman has established for us that sweets are quite nice and children like them, which I'm not dismissing. That is important information for this film. Oh, it's also written by Sammy Davis Jr. This song, whose other hit would, of course, famously be stolen by Marky McFly. Sorry.
He wanted to play the part in this film, but they didn't let him because he would be too famous.
Yeah,
so too distracting.
Has the Candyman done anything else with his life though, or is that his one defining? If you go in his Wikipedia, that's his face. It's a still from the film, I imagine.
I'm sure he's been in other stuff in minor roles. If you want, I could look it up on IMDb right now, but I just
I'll look it up. You keep going through the plot.
All right. Now Charlie comes home, and we are introduced to this film's greatest villain. Of course, he is sitting or sleeping in a bed with four other.
Oh, Jimmy, don't do. Are you gonna do the fucking Grandpa Joe's a villain thing from Screen Rant or whatever?
It's not. It might be from Screen Rant, but it's also from Reddit, and it's also something I agree with. I thought people were over exaggerating before I watched this film, and I'm like, actually, they do make some choices in this film which do not reflect well on Grandpa Joe, and so I want to discuss them. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
I won't do the build up. Okay, I will just
He's
say
a piece of shit.
Yeah. That this film, we are introduced to the grandparents, including Grandpa Joe, who is the most important, and I would like to discuss for a bit. Does that satisfy?
Okay,
Majesty?
yeah.
Is that BBC neutral enough for you?
It is, but I'm gonna disagree with you whenever you try and say he's a bad guy, because I think he is.
Grandpa Joe. Sorry, go on.
Actually, Ross, I think you're qualified. Why don't you walk us into the Grandpa Joe's evil theory before we discuss it?
Grandpa Joe is not a good guy in the film. I've actually got some notes here. So obviously, there's the whole thing. He's in bed for 20 years. This family is eating cabbage water, or drinking cabbage water, I should say, every night, and they're living in proper poverty. The 2005 one has all this stylized, very kind of cozy poverty. The
it's still poverty.
But it's Tim Burton masturbatory poverty. 1971
the house in this one looks a lot like a film set, actually, if I'm going to be picky.
1971 one, they are living in poverty, and Grandpa Joe's been in his bed for 20 years. And then Charlie gets a golden ticket, and Grandpa Joe gets out of bed and says, I've got a golden ticket. And
have you thought maybe that given that this is a Roald Dahl film, there might be a bit of magical realism going on, and the fact that the only way that he's possibly been able to get out of bed is because he's so excited about the golden ticket that it's refreshed something that he didn't have in life.
But
Duncan, there is a line that Grandpa Joe does say, which is the mother says, "Oh, you've been in bed for 20 years," and then Grandpa Joe says, "Well, if the floors weren't so cold." Which is like, wow, you're a dickhead.
I was about to say, right.
Very elderly. Are you fucking...
No.
Are you telling me that you expect an elderly man to work all day to provide for his family when he's essentially bedridden?
He's like 60 in this film. If he's been in bed for 20 years, and that's
He's not. He's like 96 canonically or something.
Canonically, not in this film. I don't know how old Jack Alberton was at the time of filming. He does not look 96.
But whereas,
but he is. And Ross, you cannot deny this. In the 2005 version, Grandpa Joe does actually look like he might be in his 90s.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe in the 2005 one is... Sorry, go on, Duncan.
In 1971, he gets up and falls over, so clearly he's not able to walk instantly. Whereas I'm pretty sure.
But that's what I'm saying.
In 2005,
Duncan, this is the crux
his bump
of my
hadn't
thing.
kinked in yet because he's got a coke nail.
Yeah, but
am I right in
I'm
saying,
genuinely serious.
Am I right in saying
Duncan,
that in 2005 he hops out of bed and immediately is able to dance?
Yes.
Whereas in 1951 he gets up, falls over, takes a while to get to his feet because he's disabled.
No, that's the thing. Like your initial excuse, Duncan, was like, "Oh, it's magical realism. He's so excited." And then the 2005 one, when he immediately hops out of bed, it's like, "Oh yeah, he really is just so excited that in the spirit of the moment, he's got enough." In the 1971 one, he gets the ticket, looks at it for a bit, and nothing happens. He has a short conversation, and then when Charlie says, "Hey, Grandpa Joe, would you like to come to the factory with me?" He's like, "I don't think I can, Charlie, but maybe I could try." And then it takes him a few attempts, so he's not being carried by the emotion of the moment at all, Duncan. It's just he just needs to practice for a little bit, and then he's able to do it. We're far removed from the initial moment of elation at this point, Duncan. It's been like a full minute, and then with a little bit of practice, is he able to walk? And he's
Clearly, the fact that
a little while later, he's singing and dancing.
You're getting me riled up now. The fact that it's so difficult just shows that it's really true that he is, and the only he wants, to enjoy this moment so much with Charlie, his grandson, that he's able to go through a great deal of physical pain. He's unable to stand up. He falls over twice. Eventually, he gets up and he gains some sort of strength in order to do this thing that he knows that Charlie really wants because he's such a great granddad. It's got nothing to do with anything else.
But he couldn't be motivated to do the same for his starving daughter and the rest of his family. Charlie is starving to death for the past...
He's bedridden.
And he smokes a pipe! He's been smoking a pipe for 20 years. And that's like, if the family can't afford bread.
He gives it up. He gives it up, though, for the family.
Only at the beginning of the film.
He gives it up. He says, "Do you know what? I'm not going to smoke anymore." Because
19 years, 364 days, Grandpa Joe has been smoking a pipe using the family's food money.
Right, and then what? And then he realizes the error of his ways, gives up. If anything, he might be a villain at the start, but he's massively redeemed throughout the film.
Should we talk about Grandpa Joe's arc? Because
just one more thing I really want to talk about, because I know neither of you will know this, because I did the extra mile here, and I watched the first 10 minutes, because it was on YouTube, of Tom and Jerry and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
And it was mostly a very unexceptional experience. It's really just, a retelling of the film with Tom and Jerry in it. It's mostly the same apart from Tom and Jerry are in the film.
Who plays who?
One thing I noticed... sorry?
Who plays who?
They have no-name voice actors to play people. It's not the same people.
No, but is Tom Charlie and Jerry's Grandpa Joe, or is
No. Charlie from the film Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, on his way home, meets Tom and Jerry.
Oh, right.
And they become friends.
Oh, I thought it'd be like Tom and Jerry live in the Bucket household.
No.
Yeah, I was hoping it would be that. And then they get dragged along.
And then they get wacky hijinks.
No, Tom and Jerry are outside the candy store.
He bumps into Tom and Jerry once.
He bumps into Tom and Jerry once, and they establish that they're friends. And then Charlie gives them one. He bought 2 loaves of bread with his salary in this version, and he gives Tom and Jerry 1 loaf of bread because they're starving, and they become friends. And then Tom and Jerry accompany them to the factory, but Willy Wonka doesn't like having cats in the factory, so they have to be stealthy. And Slugworth chases them around a lot, and the baby mouse is an Oompa Loompa. But what I was going to say is that, for the most part, that film, other than bits of Tom and Jerry in, is exactly the same as the original. But they changed Grandpa Joe's line, and he no longer says that he wouldn't get up if the floor was so cold. He says that one day I'm going to get out of this bed and, fix this young boy's life. And fix Charlie's life, and then the mother's like, "Oh, you've been saying that for 20 years, Grandpa Joe." So that means that someone who owns the rights to Willy Wonka knows that line went too far. And they've realised, okay, that has to be changed.
He's been saying for 20 years, "I'm going to fix this young boy's life." But Charlie's only, 8 years old?
I guess.
He's very elderly. You guys are expecting a lot from this guy.
He's not that elderly in this film.
He obviously wants to do something for Charlie, but he's unable to physically. And you guys have watched on film, Jamie, for you've watched 3 times on film the moment that he's finally able to break through the mental and physical barrier of being stuck in bed and be able to do something for Charlie, and you guys are calling him a fucking villain for it. It's horrific.
Okay, at this point in time, Jack Albertson was
64.
64. Yes.
Yeah.
So
right.
Been in bed since 44 years old.
Oh right, so they must have cast him as the age. He's obviously playing a much older person than fucking 64, Jimmy. He's meant to be in his 90s.
I'm just saying they cast the guy who was too young.
Yeah.
I think he looks pretty old.
He looks like he's been he could
definitely be in his 80s. Like definitely.
No.
100%.
Not at all. Do you know anyone in their 80s, Duncan, if you're going out with that opinion? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, my granddad's in his 80s, and I would say he looks younger than...
Well, clearly you've never fucking looked at your granddad in the eye, and you're ashamed to for some unrelated reason that I don't know.
No, I
don't really care
I'm telling you, Jamie. People can look... Just because fucking... When you're 80, you're going to be a shriveled old man, doesn't mean that the rest of us are. We're going to be fit and healthy, Jamie. Just like Grandpa Joe, only he's not
Duncan,
fit and
next
healthy
time you see your grandpa, take a picture, and I guarantee you he does not look like that. It is not physically possible for someone to be above 80 or whatever and have that smooth a face.
His face is not that smooth.
Oh, should we talk about smooth faces? The 2005 Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, they use a really strange... It's like Tim Burton stylization, but they physically smooth out the faces of the children artificially. Like Augustus Gloop has this weird 2005 CGI sheen
Ross,
in
you're
his
charging
face.
ahead.
Yeah, well, they're talking about smooth faces. Grandpa Joe has a purpose in 1971. He is adult cynicism. He constantly talks. He's self-centered. He says, "What about me?" He tries to get Charlie to give the everlasting gobstopper to Slugworth. But Charlie is the youthful, innocent boy who always, repeatedly throughout the film, always thinks about his family first. And he's genuine. He gives the gobstopper back to Willy Wonka against Grandpa Joe's wishes, who's trying to drag him away to drag him to Slugworth. Grandpa Joe is adult cynicism.
Cool.
That's his point.
Podcast.
And
you
then
got to the end of the film very quickly there.
No, so right, compare that to we're introduced to Grandpa Joe in 2005, and he used to work for Willy Wonka. Yeah. But that doesn't pay off at all. There's no payoff to him working for Willy Wonka. He says later on when he meets Willy Wonka, well, I used to work for you. And then Willy Wonka's like, yeah, okay.
But it's to establish Charlie's interest in the factory.
Yeah, but it was just...
And he says, do you remember me?
What effect the shutdown of the Wonka factory has had on the town as a whole. Because Tim Burton's in a post-Maggie Thatcher world. This is before that. They don't really understand how bad it would be.
But I think
nobody ever had to close a factory before then.
I'm not really sure about that, because I think the point of the film is that Charlie is specifically is in poverty. Like, I don't really see the point of putting the whole town in poverty, because in the original film, the whole town is not in poverty, because you see the other kids going about doing whatever. I don't think there's any need for the whole town to be in poverty.
Well,
just a thought.
I mean, I think it's for the story to work. Obviously, Charlie has to be very unlucky, and then he gets the lucky break, and he can only seem unlucky if other people are more fortunate than him.
Yeah.
But obviously, a logical thing is that if you shut down an entire factory, then there's going to be mass unemployment. And I suppose the 2005 one acknowledges that directly, whereas the 1971 one sort of ignores it. Possibly for the better, because it kind of fucks with a lot of the logic. Willy Wonka doesn't seem that likable if he closes the factory on a whim, and then you're reminded that he's destroyed hundreds of families' lives.
Willy Wonka isn't likable in 2005 because Johnny Depp is awful.
He's also not very likable.
We don't really see any other families in the town though in 2005. There's no school to see the other children to provide a direct comparison to Charlie's poverty.
But we know that Charlie's impoverished because we come from, the viewer brings their own experiences. A viewer can recognise that someone's poor if they're eating nothing but cabbage water.
My big problem with Act 1 as a whole is it goes to the very structure of the film. Tim Burton blows his load stylistically in the Act 1. You constantly flash away to Grandpa Joe working in this very stylized place, and the bucket household is all slanted and German expressionism. Act 1 of 1971 is just it's timeless, but it's fairly normal, and it lets, when you go into the actual chocolate factory, it's a huge jump, and you're like, wow, the chocolate factory is so surreal. And there isn't that in Tim Burton, because everything's stylized, and there's no change. There's no impact of going to the chocolate factory.
But I think you're exaggerating both how stylized the 1971 one is and the Tim Burton one. But anyway, sticking to chronological order, because we have technically only gotten to the second scene of the film.
Oh my god!
Maybe the third, if you include the opening credits or something else. We hear the news that Willy Wonka, who we are told, blah blah blah, had a workforce, closes it down because they're corporate spies. No one knows who's operating the machines now. No one goes in and out. Has started a competition. He's gonna put 5 golden tickets in 5 random bars of Wonka candy and send them out all around the world. And everybody is very keen to get them, get their hands on them. And we are introduced to the first of many sort of comedy skits that are added to this film. So this one,
what's the first one?
The comedies. Yeah, the comedy skits are all designed to, hammer home the idea that everyone really wants a Wonka bar, and it's like this worldwide hype, worldwide mania. So for this one, sorry,
they are chef's kiss, by the way. These,
yeah, they were my least favorite part when I was younger, but they were my favorite part.
Yeah, I really like them
recently.
Yeah, I think they're good additions.
Bet you Jamie's going to say he doesn't like them.
I literally just said, Duncan, I said right before you said that I liked them.
I know, but I had already started saying it, so I just went through with it.
But and they also help sort of, I guess, bridge the gap tone-wise, in that they're quite fanciful but still set in the real world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this first one's about a psychiatrist, and he's sort of talking with his patient, and his patient's like, "Oh, I hear God speak to me in my dreams," and the psychiatrist's like, "Oh, you got to ignore these things. That's not real. You got to be sane." And then he's like, "But he told me where the Wonka bars were." And then the psychiatrist is like, "Oh, you should tell me that's the joke."
Yeah.
I'm glad that I managed to sell it.
Yeah, right. You did well.
Thank you. I know I did well. We moved to Charlie's birthday. And Charlie's female relatives, his mother. Also worth noting that they decided to kill off Charlie's dad for this film.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect anything.
He doesn't do anything in the 2005 one. All he does is he gives him a little bit for his for the toothpaste cap, and that's it.
Yeah,
but he's in the original book.
Yeah, he's in the book, so it's interesting that they were like
they made an active choice to kill him.
I guess I mean it kind of works better having the family be like this one woman supporting.
Yeah,
five mouths, I guess.
I mean, like clearly, obviously, like it's strange that Charlie's poor if he has 2 working parents. I mean, obviously it's not infeasible.
Yeah.
But given that he's supposed to be like comically poor, it works a bit better if he's just got one parent who's boiling laundry rather than 2 parents who are working even if they're not getting paid a lot. And it just sort of hammers in the tragedy, I guess. One could say maybe it's the point of being a little mean, but I don't think it comes off that way. Anyway, neither Grandpa Joe nor George contribute to the scarf because they're men and don't truck with that.
Exactly.
Men don't knit scarves. And so they spend money to buy Charlie a Wonka product. It's a wagon wheel sort of thing. It's a circular thing filled with marshmallow. And they're like, "Oh, this one will probably have a ticket in it, won't it? Because, let's be lucky." And then Charlie opens it, and it doesn't. And it's all very sad.
No ticket.
Nope.
And around this time, we find that the first ticket has been discovered by a little boy in Germany, the famous Augustus Gloop, who is snacking on a bratwurst when we get the interview with him. And
it's curious to note that he's meant to represent gluttony, and sure, he would have looked fat in 1971, but now it's just like that's a child. Which really reflects about how awful society is today.
He's a bit husky, but he's not. You wouldn't walk down the street and go, "Wow, what a fat child!" under your breath, obviously.
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't register him. He's just, he's a little rotund, but you wouldn't shame him. You wouldn't want to shame him for it, or, not that you would shame someone who was fatter, but he's not unusually weighty, is what I'm trying to say.
His dad also hilariously eats a microphone in this scene because they just can't stop eating.
True.
Pretty funny stuff.
Do you want to guess how tall the Augustus Gloop actor is right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
In present day?
5'9".
6'12".
6'12".
6'7". I was closer.
He was 6'7", which is
6'12's
nuts.
not real height though. That doesn't count.
It is, if you're just weird about it.
No,
you can be
that's
6 foot plus 12 inches. You can be 7 foot, but you can be 6 foot 12. I read an interview with him, which I'm wondering if you may have also seen, Ross, where he's now a tax accountant or something in Munich.
Oh, that's fair enough.
And he says nobody in Germany really watched this film, so it's not popular there. So like, even if he like brings up like, oh, I was Augustus Gloop, no one knows what the fuck he's talking about.
That's nice though, because you can, if you want to experience the fame, you can, but you're not bogged down in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's clearly gone on to live a quiet but
you can go to Waitrose and not get bogged down like buying cabbage to make cabbage soup.
He is famous enough that he can shop in Waitrose and survive financially, but not be bothered by people. The goal we are all aiming for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So yes, good actor for Augustus Gloop. I think they could have invested in a fat suit, but maybe it would.
I think he's
weird.
fat enough. I think he's fat enough, honestly. Like I guess for the sort of Roald Dahl stylized thing, he could be fatter, but I do think he's also fat enough, definitely.
The thing is, like, if you're like a fat child, like it'd be a shame to have that card around with you that your big legacy is that you played a fat gluttonous child.
Your big legacy, your big fat legacy.
Yeah, because you surely like as a child you'd be if you're a very rotund boy, you'd be insecure about that, and then having that broadcast to several million.
I have always thought about this, like how do films cast like we need a fat person for this role, like we need a freakishly overweight person. I guess they just do it because if you're an actor, you just say you're aware.
Yeah, like in I'm
sure Jonah Hill.
It's just funny
or
that
Jack Black, they know, they know what they're at least partly being hired.
I thought Jonah Hill really hated being called fat, and he
probably. But
he yo's a lot. Like sometimes he's really skinny, like in Maniac, and then
and I think he is really insensitive. So I don't know why you'd say that, Jimmy.
All right, sorry about
that. Jack Black, on the other hand, is
Jack
fully
Black
aware
definitely
of his
owns it. I'm allowed to say that.
Point,
Yeah. Okay. This is the scene before that. Sorry, when they first announced the tickets is also the one with Charlie's chemistry teacher. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, his teacher's pretty funny. I don't know.
I didn't like him.
You didn't like his teacher?
Yeah, I didn't find it that funny.
Fucking.
I just.
It feels very kind of like they're very trying to be Python in that scene.
They are. But I kind of like
it felt a little too forced. I don't know.
Yeah, I see that. I see it's a bit forced, but it's just like nice little like British 70s silly humor,
Yeah, but I suppose with Python, when like a character acts crazy, like there is some underlying surreal logic to it, whereas with the teacher, it just kind of feels arbitrary.
Yeah.
God's sake. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's the kneeling stool falling apart constantly.
No, I can't hear that.
Are you kneeling stool.
Are you kneeling at the moment?
Yeah, I didn't. I told you guys before we started recording. I'm on a kneeling chair, but I'm sitting on it normally because I refuse to. Well, I'm not kneeling on it, but it's designed to have a pad.
You're sitting on a kneeling chair.
Yes, I'm sitting on it normally.
What does a kneeling chair look like?
Okay, it's like a regular chair, but there's a sort of pad, and both seats are at an angle. So the idea is that you could kneel down and also like have your bum perched on it at the same time. Does that make sense? It's sort of like a V shape.
Right. Okay, I'm not visualizing this at all. I can't even begin to.
You can look it up.
Imagine what this is.
Right, second child, everyone's favourite, Veruca Salt.
Yeah. Yorkshire.
Veruca Salt, interestingly, is British in both films.
Yeah.
But is upper class in the Tim Burton one, and clearly middle class in this one, which is mildly interesting and not really of note otherwise.
It's Rory Kinnear, whose son plays what's his face in the new James Bond films. His son is
her dad in this film.
It's Roy Kinnear, who's the dad of Rory Kinnear. Rory Kinnear is a great theatre actor.
Oh,
he plays Bill Tanner. That's it in the Bond films.
Cool.
Yeah. So she's like, in this one, her dad's sort of all right. Veruca, like I don't know, I can't.
Yorkshire.
Duncan, you.
It's from
Yorkshire. Yes.
Yorkshire bloke.
Yorkshire bloke.
Well done.
Who Veruca is obviously the spoiled child, I would say really the only genuinely bad child in the entire film. We maybe get into that later. But, you know.
Yeah.
She's
rather unpleasant.
She's deeply unpleasant. Her father has bought out loads of chocolate bars and got the entire factory working on packing them. And has been able to give one to her. Another thing, I can't remember the exact names, but it's every single pair of adults in this film. I don't know if it was in Roald Dahl's original book or if it's an invention for the film, but everyone marries someone with the female version of their
Yes,
first
it's Henry
name.
Henrietta Salt. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, famously, Grandpa Joe, Grandma Josephine, Grandpa George, Grandma Georgina. There's other ones in this film as well. I've forgotten them.
Yeah.
Which, you know, again, stylistic detail. That's not important.
Thing.
Yeah. Well, we should also mention at this point that Slugworth, the rival candy maker who originally stole a lot of Willy Wonka's secrets.
Yeah.
Every time someone wins a golden ticket, he magically teleports right beside them using his eldritch powers.
Well,
and
maybe, I don't know. We might find out later, Jamie, how he does it.
We might find out how he does it.
That's a great thing. His Wikipedia thing, the guy who plays him, it's like he's best remembered for playing Hitler in like several films.
I saw that. Because I looked up like Willy Wonka cast, and then there's just Hitler there, like along the thing. So I guess that was his.
I suppose the thing is, like, if someone says like, "Oh, you look like Hitler," then obviously that's not a compliment. But like, that is a good. There are going to be a lot of films with Hitler in them, and if you get known as the Hitler guy, if that's like your professional reputation, then that is a steady paycheck.
One of the weirdest castings I've ever seen for Hitler was Robert Carlyle. I've not seen the thing that it was in, but like I was looking up a list of like people that played Hitler, and I just don't see it at all. Robert Carlyle, you know.
Did you see a picture of him wearing all the makeup though?
Yeah, he just looks like a skinny Hitler.
A skinny Robert Carlyle.
He looks more like was it Himmler that had like a similar mustache? Did Himmler have the mustache ever, or no? Was he just sort of? Yeah, he did.
I'm looking at the pictures right now, and actually, I agree with you, Duncan. It does look quite odd.
Yeah, I think.
The thing about Hitler is that he's been so caricatured that literally anyone can be made to look like Hitler if they have like the features, you know.
Yeah.
Like no one, we don't really remember what he actually looks like. We know what representations of him look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all kind of.
All you need is the kind of sideways comb and the tash, and just to look angry. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you need a fuller face.
Even though he has both those things,
you need a fuller face. He still
looks very odd.
He does look more like Himmler. I've just looked up Himmler, and it looks a lot more like him.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
the pace.
That's by the way.
So from Hitler on to what's the next child?
Slugworth.
The next child is Violet Beauregard.
Yeah.
Who
chews gum.
You know. Yeah. The issue with Violet Beauregard in both versions is that. And in the book, really, is that I don't think anyone other than Roald Dahl really considers chewing gum that bad. And so both adaptations feel a need to add something else to her character to make her seem worse.
She kind of becomes just like Veruca, but she chews gum. Whereas like the crime that the Oompa Loompas try her for is for chewing gum. But
she disobeys him though.
Well, that's true.
Like that's not what they like. I agree that in the film, it's her other traits that are bad, but like the trait that is picked out as like the bad trait for her is that she chews gum.
Yeah. In the book, it's very clear that like her thing is that she chews gum. That is her moral failing and why she deserves to be punished.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like in the Tim Burton one, they spin it slightly differently, and they're like, oh, she chews gum a lot, and like she's a world champion in the book. Maybe we should make it that she's like over competitive, and that's like her issue.
But then that's not really that unique compared to. I guess it is. It's not the same.
Well, they make her
Veruca,
like the kind of child beauty pageant-esque kind of like they have like the mom Missy Pyle, I think, isn't it?
But I think that works a little better because, as you said, Duncan, in this one, like she's just kind of vaguely bratty, and even then, that's sort of quite a big crossover.
Well, no, because her dad's a kind of
that's what I was going to say. Her dad's the one with all the personality in the family.
Yes, that's right. Her dad has the business card. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a classy, slicked back used car salesman.
Do you call him classy, Jerry?
I said classy. I meant to say classic, obviously.
Classic, yeah.
Classique.
Yeah.
The stereotype.
Yes.
God, this chair is uncomfortable.
So I think in the film it takes about an hour to get introduced to Willy Wonka, and currently we've been talking for
It
an
takes
hour,
ages,
15 minutes.
yeah.
So we're...
It does take
I
a
think
long
this might
time.
This
But
might be the
would
first
you,
Golden Talkies episode that is longer than the film in question.
Yes,
But would you
we're
prefer
on trend for it?
Would you prefer that, or in they kind of blow their load in 2005? They introduced Willy Wonka fairly early, with like the Grandpa Joe flashbacks, where he's obscured by a lollipop. But it's like
I think that's good.
just
I
a
think it's
bit
good to get a little taster.
I mean, I prefer
Anyway.
them waiting to do it, but I don't have a massive problem with it. It's done in 2005. But yeah,
it's the
I
whole
mean,
Jaws thing. I think.
it's cool. Like, because watching this film back, I kept being like, "Why are they not at the factory yet?" And I was like, "Oh, they actually don't go to the factory till like an hour, 10 minutes in, and they're only there for the amount of time that's needed." But it still works actually.
The scarcity of revealing Wonka it is what they did in Jaws. It works. It's effective. His introduction
It's not the same. It's not Willy Wonka isn't that big a presence that you need to hide him. I don't
it's
think.
kinda
I think
like
it's
Jaws.
fine to tease him a bit.
No, I think it's like
It's
Jaws.
not. No, it's not like in Jaws. In Jaws, you're teased with the shark's presence constantly. And
Yeah,
Jimmy,
when-
here's
when you
my-
are
here's
with
you
my-
don't see the actual shark. Yes, that's the Jaws thing. But you're not
Yeah.
like, oh, in Jaws the shark doesn't show up at all for
No,
the
but
first
you
hour.
hear-
There are
you
several
hear-
scenes where the shark is present in Jaws.
Yeah, but you
In
hear
the first
about
half.
Willy Wonka's present through his chocolate bars and people on TV talking about him, and Charlie talking about how much he wants to go and stuff. He's present. He's just not physically present, and he
in
appears.
the Charlie and Chocolate Factory, 2005, the only mention you see of Willy Wonka is completely obscured, and it's being told by Grandpa Joe. You cannot tell me that is not more similar to just showing the fin of a shark.
It just
than
ruins the whole film.
The 1971 one.
Jamie, you see Willy Wonka's CGI fingers in the introduction with
As opposed to Jaws, where you never see any fucking animatronic.
yeah, we don't see Jaws' CGI fingers in the introduction to Jaws.
No, but you see his fin constantly. Like, I'm just saying, you can't be like, oh, the shark doesn't show up in Jaws. Like, oh, the shark is there, you just don't see very much of it. That's the thing.
Well, do you know
that
another
happens in the
Spielberg
71.
monster film where no one shows up is Jurassic Park, and they don't turn up for a long time into that film, and you can't argue otherwise. Apart from the fact you do see their eyes and stuff right at the start, so I guess this is actually quite comparable to both Jaws and 2005. But anyway, aside from that, the 2005 one
Right,
ruins
this is
it for
around
showing
the
him
time where, Ross, you can come in with your Cheer Up Charlie opinions, because this is when we get to it.
Cheer Up Charlie is a great song, but it does not work. The film, if I was to re-edit this film, like me as a child, I always felt they took too long getting to the factory, and I was much more forgiving at rewatching it this time. But they still do take a long time, and I would totally cut Cheer Up Charlie because that's the one bit where it just lags.
It's a very long, quite slow song.
Yeah,
that
and
doesn't
in
really
the
establish
beginning,
much.
you need. I think it would have worked better if you'd got rid of this song. It's a nice song, and it's interesting to note that they'd written the songs before they had a script.
Oh, interesting.
So
That
they
makes
had to
sense.
write the script around the songs. Hence why.
I suppose the thing is, all the songs are quite vague, really.
Yeah, because
when we
Grandpa
get down
Joe
to it.
says, "I've got a golden ticket," which is clearly a song written for Charlie, but Grandpa Joe sings it. With
that
one
makes
with one ADR line, with Grandpa Joe saying,
And, like-
"We've done it, Charlie."
Yeah, and then like with Candyman and Pure Imagination, like those are both songs that you could literally insert anywhere in this film, and they would like fit. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, makes sense.
Cheer Up Charlie, nice song on a playlist, but not for this film.
I didn't even really like it on that.
It's very interesting to know how Charlie's mum is really like all the time. She's like, Charlie, your dreams won't come true. She's really negative.
Yeah.
I know she's trying to like
And then
temper
she's like,
his.
"Oh, Charlie, we'll cheer you up. Grandpa Joe and I will cheer you up."
But that's
Yeah.
the weird thing is that like the grandparents in this film are, I would say, irresponsibly optimistic, in that they keep saying to Charlie that he'll be fine. Whereas you know what, in the Tim Burton one, they're a bit more pessimistic, and I think that's fine.
No, one of them's
You know, they
pessimistic.
sort
He's a
of-
fucking cunt.
well, they
yeah,
do
but-
have the optimistic one in 2005, the one who has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was like,
well, no,
I
Grandma,
like grapes, that one.
yeah, Grandma
that
Georgina is senile in 2005, and she's optimistic, and Grandpa Joe is very encouraging. But then you've also got Grandpa George, who gets to do something in this film, and he's like the
Yes,
more
it's-
realistic, negative voice.
Yeah, Grandpa
It's just-
George has nothing to do in 1971, does he?
No, neither does Grandma. None of the other three grandparents do really. I
No,
think
they
they make
just
like
lie
one remark. But yeah, inert.
Yeah.
They've been dead for several years and no one's noticed.
Maybe. Maybe it was like a
But, yeah,
battle royale in the
regardless.
bed, and that's why Grandpa Joe can get up because now he's sort of freed.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe won because he secretly still had full use of his legs.
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore was able to kick the others to death.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got our fourth ticket winner, the Mike TV. He likes westerns. Again, Mike TV. They in both versions they feel they need to give him a bit more personality.
Yeah.
So he likes TV a lot in the Roald Dahl, and that's sort of his thing. In this one, he still likes TV a lot, but like he very specifically likes westerns.
Yeah.
And he has a little cowboy hat and gun. And then in the 2005 one, they modernize it a little bit, and he likes video games.
He's a gamer, and he uses the R slur.
Yeah, that was quite weird to hear. It's quite strange to think that only like 15 years ago you could say that word in a family film.
Yeah. So fucking
It's
bizarre.
Interesting. Mike TV especially, I started to notice that like lots of the children are awful apart from Charlie, apart from Augustus Gloop, but Augustus Gloop especially highlights this, that the children's flaws aren't really a reflection of the children, it's a reflection of the parenting. Mike TV's parents don't discipline him. They're stuck in front of a TV. Mike TV's dad says, "Oh, I'm going to give him a gun when he's 12, whatever it is." Augustus Gloop, his parents don't set limits on how much he eats. Veruca Salt isn't disciplined. And likewise, who's the other one? Violet Beauregard.
Veruca Salt.
She chews gum.
Violet Beauregard, yeah.
She
Violet Beauregard chews gum.
She chews gum. And
for that she deserves to die.
That's a sin. Yeah.
Well, I was going to... I mean, we're going a little out of order, but who cares? Everyone knows the plot of this. I think it's a bit strange, because other than Veruca Salt, I don't think any of the children really do anything are really that bad, you know?
I mean, Augustus Gloop pretty bad.
Augustus Gloop is just a kid who eats chocolate a lot and food. Like, you just...
To be fair,
you know, maybe as a member of the most persecuted minority in Britain officially, fat people, I'm a bit more sympathetic to.
No, Jamie, that's Mike TV in 2005. Gamers, are the most persecuted minority
in the world.
I mean, I think Ross is right. It's the parents' fault, but I think to say that the kids don't do anything wrong is not true, because they do. My problem is
it's not that they don't do anything.
My problem is that Charlie also does something wrong, because he drinks the fucking juice and that he's told not to.
Like the overwhelming
drink,
thing I get out of so like Augustus Gloop's thing is that he's fat, right? And like other than that, he seems like a perfectly nice guy.
Yeah, but Willy Wonka doesn't say don't drink from the river, and then he falls in. So it's not like he's intentionally.
When they have the one scene, the children don't actually get much time to talk in this film. In the one scene where like they introduce themselves to Willy Wonka, Augustus Gloop is perfectly nice to him. Nothing's like, oh, what a horrible person. Whereas like in fairness, in the 2005 one,
yes,
Augustus Gloop is also horrible in personality.
You should have brought some chocolate, or whatever he says.
Yeah, but Willy Wonka does tell him to stop drinking in the river. Like
yes, he does.
He's awfully far away.
I'm not saying in the moment.
He says
they don't do something wrong.
Stop! Don't! Please stop!
Yeah, he says it very urgently in a matter that would warn a child. I'm just saying. I'm not saying like in the moment they don't do anything wrong. I'm not saying they're completely blameless throughout the entire time. I'm just saying the big sins that they're being punished for, like Augustus Gloop, perfectly nice. He's fat and like obviously that's considered bad. But as a person, he's fine. The only thing, maybe he's going to worry about his heart health in 10 years' time.
But gluttony is a sin,
Beauregard. Violet Beauregard in this film is like a little bratty, but like a normal amount. Like it's something like if you came across that child, you'd be like,
chewing gum is a sin, Jamie.
Chewing gum is a sin. But I'm just saying, like as a person, as a personality, she's not the most pleasant company, but like she's within the bounds of like a normal child. And I would say the same for Mike TV. I would say the only one who is uncommonly bratty and unpleasant is Veruca Salt in the 1971 one.
Yeah.
See, I think apart from Violet, they all are, and even Violet is, because she knows that she's not meant to eat the gum, and then she just does it anyway.
No, but Duncan, you're focusing too much on the moment. I'm saying overall, before they ever enter the factory.
Yeah, but it's all about how they do act in the moment, Jamie. That's what the whole thing's about.
No, it's not. It's about the sins they have for coming in.
All their defining character traits relate to bad parenting, specifically lack of discipline. Exactly. Augustus Gloop is a glutton because he isn't disciplined. Veruca Salt, her ego isn't, it isn't in check.
She's spoiled.
Veruca Salt, they're all spoiled. Mike TV isn't disciplined, and as a result, they don't respond well to authority, and thus they don't obey Willy Wonka, and thus they get, brutally.
But Willy Wonka doesn't really try to assert his authority in this film.
What?
No.
He doesn't try to assert his authority.
Yeah, I suppose. Film, really. Yeah, no, he is actively trying to weed them out. So yeah. He doesn't really.
Whereas I'm just saying, in the 2005 one, to keep going to comparisons, I think the script does a better job of extrapolating the supposed flaws that Roald Dahl, in his slightly crazy way, assigned to the children. It does a better job of creating genuine personality flaws from them that like logically flow. If that makes sense.
Cool.
Right, that's all I was saying. I'm just saying that most of the children are pretty nice, other than Veruca Salt, who's unpleasant, and then, like, as I say, Mike TV and, like, Violet are not super nice, but, like, you'd think, but not unusually so, you'd expect them to grow out of it. That's all I'm saying. Right. Charlie gets a golden ticket. There's, like, a scandal where someone fakes it in South America. And this is maybe a time to bring up that it's quite strange that 3 of these tickets were found in the US, despite the fact that they were sent out worldwide. Possibly Willy Wonka has a bias, who knows?
Or maybe it's just chocolate consumption in the US is higher, especially of
but Duncan, it's been very firmly established for a series of delightful comedic skits that chocolate consumption around the world is at an all-time high right now.
True, but maybe it's just still higher there.
And into the 2005 one, they show like Japan and they show New York City and like Marrakesh. I think they really pushed
Marrakesh
the global...
and Beijing or Tokyo.
Yeah, I think it's Tokyo. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in this
there's like a matte painting establishing shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God damn.
It looks like a matte painting.
Chair. Regardless, we get to the big day. Oh yeah, sorry. Charlie finds a golden ticket. He finds a coin in the sewer. Picks it up. He buys.
Are we only just at the point where Charlie finds a golden ticket? Fuck me.
Well, that does sound like we haven't gone very far, but in fairness, Duncan, you have to remember this is halfway through the film because its runtime's a bit weird.
It is interesting to note that Charlie gets blue-balled out of a golden ticket like 3 times. It's more than 2005. 2005, they only pull that trick like once.
Well, the weird thing about this one is that Charlie is rewarded for his one act of selfishness, which is when he chooses to buy a second chocolate bar for himself rather than give the rest of the money to the family.
No, he buys one for his Uncle Joe. No, Grandpa Joe.
Oh, sorry.
That's it.
For Grandpa Joe, you're right. But
that's why Grandpa Joe gets a golden ticket, because it's for him.
Because it's chocolate bar.
It's in his chocolate bar, and this is legally his property.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't even have to take Charlie to the factory. You could have taken fucking Georgina if she could be bothered getting off her arse.
Yeah.
No.
Act 2.
Yeah, okay, let's just... fuck it. Grandpa Joe sings the song. We've talked about the suspicious circumstances of it.
We have.
It obviously is outrageous that Charlie chooses not to take his mother. Again, addressed in the 2005 version. Another reason to have Grandpa Joe previously work at the factory is to justify that decision. Regardless, we're at the front gates. I've been talking for quite a while. Does one of you two want to take over? I know I usually do this myself, but now this.
No, Jamie, I think you're doing a great job.
You've detailed notes when I've only got like a kind of a blur in my head.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I started really enjoying the film from this point on, and then I stopped taking detailed notes. Whereas I was quite.
Oh well, I remember this fairly vividly. The blur.
So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka comes out. He's got a cane. Everyone thinks he's injured, and then he drops his cane, falls over, does a forward roll, and everyone goes, "Whoa!" Because he's not actually injured. He's fine.
Yes, and Gene Wilder specifically requested that he be able to do that scene.
Yeah, and he didn't tell the actors. So some of the actors actually thought he was injured. So there's a fun little tidbit of information for you.
Very nice. Anyway, then, Willy Wonka walks up to the factory. Yes.
Right, they go to the factory. There's some kind of surprise, and Willy Wonka says, "Little surprise around every corner, but nothing dangerous," which we then find out is not true at all.
Not true.
He makes them all
sign a massive waiver.
Yeah, he makes them all sign a huge fucking contract with small print, and
which is great.
The slimy parents try and get them to not do it, but they all want to see the chocolate so bad that they do it. Apart from Charlie, he does ask his grandpa, and his grandpa says, "We've got nothing to lose, let's sign it anyway," which is a really good attitude, you know. Don't you think so?
Do you think the reason they're so poor is that Grandpa Joe signed up with a loan shark at one point?
We've got nothing to lose. Oh shit, we lost our house.
None of the grandparents' legs work because they were all broken by the mob.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, we should really compare the film to 2005 because at 2005, it's just it's a big disappointment. They have this big the flaming the mannequins which go on fire, which would have been impactful had the rest of the film not been equally stylized beforehand. And then so in at this point in the film, they make the rooms like progressively smaller, and it's really claustrophobic to really make the grandness of the big chocolate room. Like it really sells that, having a nice comparison. You know, life has no meaning without death. Currency has no meaning without lack of currency. Yeah. Having a small room really makes, you know, an objectively not amazingly big room feel quite big. And in 2005, they do the smaller room trick for literally like one shot. And it doesn't work.
In 2005, Ross, the contrast is between the sterile nature of the previous rooms in the factory and the more fanciful chocolate room. It's a different contrast.
Yeah, but the small room trick's really cool.
It is nice.
And there's just something magic about like the chocolate room, like being shot on film, like the colors and stuff. It just looks really nice.
Yeah.
It's so much more vivid, yeah.
Although, to be fair, I was reading up. Apparently, the Tim Burton one, most of the chocolate room was like practically built. So,
really?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was surprised because it looked CGI as fuck. But apparently, most of it, at least the stuff that they were interacting with, was like actually really practically built. So that's kind of cool.
One thing I will give the 2005 one is that the chocolate river actually, in some shots, not all, some shots, does actually look like a chocolate river.
Whereas in this film, it does look a lot like sewage.
Yeah, it does.
Yes,
look
I think
like,
I read that
a weak hot chocolate.
The actor for Augustus Gloop described it as dirty, stinky water when he was asked what the chocolate river was like when they were filming. So,
apparently they tried a lot of methods to thicken it and nothing worked. So
they put chocolate powder in it at one point,
brown.
And it just didn't do anything. So
that'd have been disgusting.
Yeah. So then,
anyway.
as we mentioned earlier, go on, Ross. That's any like
it's just like the very beginning of we open up into that thing, and then one of the greatest songs. The music in the entire film is great in 1971. The song which everyone knows.
Give us a bit of it.
What's the name of it?
Pure Imagination.
Come with me, and you'll see. Yeah, that one. It's Pure Imagination is iconic for a reason, and it's very similar.
So iconic, you can remember the name.
What's Why Do Birds? Why Do Birds Suddenly Appear? It's very similar to that, but it's a great song. It's fantastic.
They are quite similar, yeah. So Willy Wonka sings that song, and he says that everything in the room is edible and they can eat it. So of course, there's a sort of montage of them eating it, and Augustus Gloop goes straight to the chocolate river, starts eating it. Willy Wonka says, "Oh, don't eat that," and then he falls in. And no one really panics much, even though he's literally drowning.
But it's important to note, for this film, Gene Wilder makes the interesting choice. I'm not going to say it was wrong. I think it's quite interesting and funny. But he does make the choice to have Willy Wonka only ever warn children that they're about to come to serious harm in the most like offhanded, sarcastic way possible.
It's fucking hilarious, though. It is actually it's one of the funniest like things I've ever seen in a film. I don't know why. Just the way that he's
but he's just like, go, like, stop, don't, whatever it is.
Stop,
it's when Augustus's mother says, like, oh, call for help, and he's like, he just sort of looks around sarcastically, he's like, help, please.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and I think it's also just really funny to, like, imagine the like real situation of like a mother watching her kid drown and like the person that's in charge be like, no, please stop, and the fact that no one else really gives a fuck. They're all like, is he going to be okay? Do you think? Willie, do you think he's going to be okay? Well, no, I don't think so.
In the original story, it's like Wonka states that like it's an accident that all the children like got into accidents and like it's genuinely unfortunate. He's like, he's not that bothered by it, but like, it's bad. He didn't want it to happen. In this film, it's left really ambiguous as to whether or not Willy Wonka has engineered these situations on purpose.
I really hope that Willy Wonka filtered out, like all the bits, like, because like, that's all the chocolate is being mixed in that river, and a child falls in. If he sells that chocolate. Like there's some serious health and risk.
He says it. He says it's all going to have to be destroyed. So, because I guess it comes.
One thing I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
No, that reminds me. In the 2005 one, I think it's who's the actor? It's someone Fox. One of the Fox actors. The guy who plays Mr. Salt. Says like, this seems very like choreographed, and I like that line. That's one of the only things I like about the film.
the Oompa Loompa scene.
Oompa Loompas song, yeah.
Yeah, well, why don't we just introduce them now, because they sort of come up around this point. We see the Oompa Loompas introduce themselves, answering
They're like construction equipment, yeah.
The film's one mystery. So in the 1971 one, they make a lot of aesthetic choices that are different from the book and the 2005 film, and I would say almost universally for the better. So I think the colour of the Oompa Loompas is kept vague in the book. And here they decide to make them bright orange with green hair, which has the very useful effect of sort of deracializing them, which is quite important because, as we were discussing earlier, there's not a lot of good overtones to the narrative.
In 2005, when you see Willy Wonka go to Loompa Land, fight through the jungle, and then imprison the entire Oompa Loompa population. Not against their will, to be fair. No. But it's a bit questionable still.
Well, the thing is, it's also not made clear in the 1971 one how Willy Wonka's paying them. And in the absence of an explanation, you assume with money.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 2005 one, and I remember that this is also mentioned explicitly in the book, but like in the 2005 one, it is made clear that he's paying them in cocoa beans.
Yeah.
Rather than money. Again, because the Oompa Loompas want it that way. But they are still slaves.
Still a bit sus.
In the 90... That for me, I like the mystery though of like.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say Oompa Land's quite funny when you're told about it, and like there's the geography teacher there saying it's not real, and then Willy Wonka just ignoring him. Yeah, but when you're actually showing it, it's not a joke anymore. It's just a thing we have to go through, and it's not funny at that point.
No, it's that's definitely the weakest bit. That's definitely the weakest bit, I think, for me of the 2005 one. Is like
I'd agree.
Actually seeing him go to Loompa. I don't like the Oompa Loompas in the 2005.
Yeah, it's the guy he plays. He's in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films.
Ray Parks, isn't his name?
No, Deep Roy, I think his name is.
Deep Roy, that's right.
Yeah, he plays Simon Pegg's sidekick.
Well, the thing is, the new ones, or the 2005 ones, are more accurate to the book, obviously, which has them being shorter and, again, of ambiguous race. But like, I think obviously the size things is just dedicated by like the effects of the time. Like they're not going to be able to CGI a bunch of people super small for an old film, particularly on that budget. Yeah. So it's just we're hiring some short people. That's the best we can do.
Yeah.
And we're painting them.
The only thing the only thing I did notice is that one of the short people is noticeably taller than the other ones, which is a little bit distracting when they're supposed to be like all the same height Oompa Loompa people. Yeah. I don't know if you guys picked up on that.
I didn't see, but I believe it.
Yeah, there's like one that's like a good 6 inches taller than like the next shortest one, and all the rest are like the same height. Which I guess, I mean, they're still little people, but like I don't know, it just feels a bit yeah. Anyway, we should probably move on from
that much choice.
About exactly. Well, because they use the same ones in all the different scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which actually works better in the 2005 one because they're meant to be the same person, whereas anyway.
The music in the 2005 one sucks for the Oompa Loompas.
No, it's so much better.
No, Jamie, don't. Jamie, don't.
It's so dated. It's
good.
Awful.
I love it. Genuinely like it. How can you?
Doopity-doo. I've got a perfect puzzle for you. It's good. They do the same song every time.
I could sing the 2005 one if I didn't feel self-conscious. It's it's done by Danny Elfman, who is a certified good composer, and they are good songs, and they match the lyrics of the original book.
They're not that good. Whereas I like how the 1971 one, it's like they use the same song, and they just like put nice little lyrics in. It's nice. It's good. It's better. It's way.
I know they use the original lyrics, like Roald Dahl's lyrics in the 2005 one, but the music's not as good.
It's not as consistent.
It's fun.
It might be fun, but it's not right.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless, they sing a little song about Augustus Gloop being fat.
Did he?
And then he sucked up they finished sucking him up the pipe.
Fucking hell, Jimmy, that's a bit forward.
Yeah. So we Augustus's mother is sent off. Willy Wonka isn't very concerned about this.
Keep talking like that.
And that's sort of that. We move on, as I say. To the boat. This is the famous boat scene that is apparently very scary if you're a child. where they go down the tunnel and it's all surreal, and Willy Wonka.
Yeah, they kill the
poetry.
chicken, Jamie.
Yeah, they kill a chicken.
Yes.
In the film, on screen. It's quite. It's pretty graphic. Some of the stuff that's shown, and insects crawling over people's faces and stuff. It's
maybe if you're a baby.
It's a shame they didn't use at least like a wind machine or try to make it. I mean, it adds to the surrealness, the fact that like the boat itself and all the people are like still.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's
yeah,
just
adds
really
to the surrealness.
Weird.
Yeah, but like, cause in the 2005 one, they make it like, oh, it's we're on a CGI boat, and it's like okay, yeah, it's more, I guess, surface level exhilarating, but it doesn't
not
stick in
that
the
boat
mind.
is not
It's
CGI in the 2005 one. That is clearly a practical effect, Ross.
Yeah, the boat is, but they're going
whip
through
up some CGI boogie.
Yeah, no, but like all the the white water kind of like white water rafting currents, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and in the 1971 one, it's obviously a projection that's playing. What's your point?
No, I'm saying the
practical
original
effects
one's
are better,
much more distinct.
Practical effects are
They
better.
don't always look better. Sometimes they look fine, and the CGI also looks fine.
Practical effects.
I don't
are
think
better.
they look.
Yeah.
All right, J.J. Abrams.
Wait, what?
What?
Well, you remember in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, he put a lot of emphasis on how the effects were going to be practical now, and nothing about the story.
Sure thing.
And because they got a BB-8 and like it actually went on stage and rolled around and everyone was like, "Whoa!"
Cool. But then, but
I love this.
But you're saying that you liked the 2005 one, but Tim Burton said the same thing. He wanted to use practical as much as possible,
and he did.
But he reluctantly used the CGI, and you're saying that the CGI looked good.
I think it looks fine in this film. Yes.
Right. Okay.
At that particular point,
you're talking out your
It doesn't
arse.
look. The 1971 one doesn't look that good in this scene. I'm sorry. It's fine. It looks like something you'd see at a fairground ride, and that's good. But like, it's fine.
Right. Who dies next? Who doesn't die? What kid?
Somewhat strangely, in both films, and possibly the original story, Violet Beauregard, despite being the third person to get a ticket, is the second to die.
Yeah.
They go to a special room. Oh fuck! We forgot to say there's a subplot in this film where Slugworth was telling every child to bring him an everlasting gobstopper, and then he'd give them money. Yeah. Because it'll put them out.
Oh yeah, do they get that done before they kill off Violet?
I think it's the same room because this is the one with all the inventions.
That's
right?
the room where they find it. And gives them all one.
They find the everlasting gobstopper, and he gives them all one. And he's like, "But make
some
sure
really fun practical effects in these ones."
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
that's true. I thought you were going to say the everlasting gobstopper was a very fun practical effect, and I was about to admonish you.
Like they're not necessarily like good practical effects, but they're distinct, and they stick in my mind.
The everlasting gobstopper is not a good practical effect to the extent that it is one at all.
Yeah,
but regardless,
it's a good prop though.
I mean, it doesn't look that much like a sweet. That's my only complaint, even though it does look.
Is that the one where it's all like angular and?
Yeah, it doesn't look super comfy to put in your mouth. No.
But you remember it.
I do remember it. That's true. It looks a lot like something else though, and I'm trying to think of what it is. Anyway, Violet Beauregard, as you know, Willy Wonka makes some gum, and she takes it and tastes it and shares her experience with everyone. And Willy Wonka very, very passively tells her to stop, and she doesn't, and she turns into a blueberry. Which Willy Wonka knew would happen, and he did nothing to stop it. So,
do you ever think there must be like, specifically like porn parodies of that scene? You'd think.
I mean, for some reason in this one it didn't bother me that much, but in the Tim Burton
like a kind
one,
of reverse,
it looks a lot
like there'd be
more
like vor. Is that
You're thinking of inflation. Inflation porn.
Oh, okay. That's the name of it. Yeah.
But yeah, regardless. And then in the 2005 one, they sing a catchy song, and in this one they sing the same song again, the Lazy Fucks.
Yeah, good. They sing the good song again.
Yeah. As they
then,
dispose of her corpse. Yeah.
I think this is where we get the licking the wallpaper at this point, don't we? It's designed for nursery walls, and then you can lick it, and it's a flavour. What fun! What whimsy! And then you
couldn't have that in a post-COVID world, could you?
No, you couldn't have that in a post-COVID world, or even a regular world. It would still be incredibly unhygienic.
Actually, you had all those fools licking, stuff in grocery stores, as they say in the US, for TikTok clout.
Well,
so, I mean,
yeah, but fuck 'em. And then we get to the infamous fizzy lifting drinks room, where Willy Wonka has created a special kind of fizzy drink that is so carbonated that it lifts you up as well. And
where
says,
is Willy Wonka and the other people when Charlie and Grandpa Joe, like where are they? Are they just
they've just gone to the next
very
room.
slowly to the next room?
Willy Wonka just assumed that Charlie's,
or maybe
off
that
himself.
Charlie and Grandpa Joe walk past like another type of suite that's really cool and interesting, and we never get to see it. Regardless, after Willy Wonka leaves and expressly says that they haven't finished working on it, in a scene immediately after a child almost died because she tasted something which Willy Wonka had said they hadn't finished working on, so they know how dangerous this is. Grandpa Joe is like, "Hey, let's steal some fizzy lifting drink, Charlie." Yeah. It'll be fine.
Well, this is Grandpa Joe just being a bad influence on Charlie, though.
Absolutely nothing morally redeemable about this Grandpa Joe moment. Would you agree, Duncan?
Well, this scene really annoys me because my recollection of this film before I rewatched it for this was that all the other kids had broken Willy Wonka's rules and Charlie had followed along with it, and that's why he gets given the factory. Spoiler alert. But then I was watching it, and I was like, wait, are they going to drink it? And then they drink it, break the rules, get in a bunch of danger. Willy Wonka's very angry at them. And I'm like, man, what's the difference between them and the other kids? And obviously the difference
Charlie
is
does
that
the
they're
exact
not
same thing Violet Beauregard does. Like, in terms of moral fault, it's the same crime.
Exactly. The difference is
something you're told not to.
Difference is from a business perspective, because Jamie, Willy Wonka wants to give his factory to a business-savvy young boy, and Charlie found a dynamic solution to get out of the business problem he was in.
No, he didn't. Grandpa Joe did.
Did he?
Yeah, Grandpa Joe's the one who figures out the burping.
Yeah, the burping thing. But then I guess the difference is it was Grandpa Joe that encouraged him to do it.
Charlie's just stealing all of Grandpa Joe's... He stole Grandpa Joe's ticket.
Yeah.
He's stolen Grandpa Joe's valor and the factory from Grandpa Joe.
Yeah, it's true. Grandpa Joe really should be the man.
Yeah.
Anyway, is this scene in the 2005 one?
No, it's made up for this film. Because, as you so aptly noted, Duncan, it completely destroys the moral message. It destroys the moral
message of the entire film. That makes sense.
Well, no, because it provides that low point at the end of the film.
Yeah, but Charlie loses the moral high ground, which is like the entire point of the story.
Yeah, it's the point of
it allows
being a nice.
Both 2005 and 1971 have Charlie not initially accepting the factory. In 1971, it's Charlie's fault. In 2005, it's because Willy Wonka hasn't resolved his family.
He's not got a family.
Yeah.
Yes,
but in 2005...
Have you guys seen all the astroturfed memes about Vin Diesel and family? It's the most forced marketing thing I've ever seen in my life.
I think they're quite funny.
I don't.
Regardless of their inception.
We're almost 2 hours into this now.
I think.
Really?
How long is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate? We must be longer than.
We are.
The film is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We're doing 2 films though.
We are
exactly. So
vaguely
4-hour episode.
Okay.
Regardless. Right. What happens next? No. I'm gonna defend the ending. Screw this. No, because I don't know why, but both films feel the need to add some extra thing at the end. I guess because the story kind of peters out if it's just.
Well, you forgot about Michael TV.
Well, Michael TV. Yeah, We're not got there yet, Ross.
We've not talked about Veruca.
You brought up the ending.
You said about the end, Jamie. You said the end.
You brought up the ending,
okay,
Ross. We're talking about it now.
Okay, who dies next?
We'll go in order. Okay, no, Veruca Salt dies
Charlie's
next.
flying the eggs. They can tell the difference between a good egg and a bad egg, and there's a bunch of big geese, and Veruca says, I want a goose because she's a little shit. She runs up to get a goose, she's a bad egg, she goes down the chute.
She sings a song. What's your opinion on the song I Want It Now, Ross? I think it's fine.
I like it. I love all of the music in this film. And it's a good amount of... it's a good length, I think. Because you could have had a Cheer Up Charlie where it's like a full song, but
she falls
the choreography... It's like the natural point where the choreography where she goes up to the thing, it feels very natural in the choreography of a normal dance routine, and then she just falls and plummets to her death.
Yeah,
it's perfect. It's perfectly structured, I think.
In the original book and in the 2005 thing, they have squirrels do it, and they tell the difference between good and bad nuts.
Yeah.
Now, in credit to the 1971 one, they use geese because it's a cheaper effect. They can't have hundreds of squirrels at this point. That's fine.
In
The other
2005,
thing,
they
though,
used real
is that
squirrels.
good and bad
Stranger
egg
squirrels.
is a pun that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is based on an actual phrase. Good and bad nut means
not.
nothing.
No. Exactly.
So it is
I
also
actually
a massive
I thought the
improvement.
goose thing. I thought the goose thing would have been the original from the book. It was only when I read otherwise I was quite surprised because I was like, it seems to make sense. Yeah, they trained the squirrels. I watched a whole video about it. I don't know if you guys watched the same one. It sounds like you might have
I've seen
done.
it, yeah.
Yeah, where they actually trained the squirrels to do most of the things. Like, obviously, they don't carry her down to the end, but other than that, it's like they actually trained them. Pretty cool.
What, in the 2005 one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a
I
practical
thought that. I was about to say, not to echo Ross, I thought that was CGI.
No.
I'm genuinely
No.
surprised.
Well, the thing is, they do loads of weird after effects. It's you know, in like Mad Max Fury Road, when 90% of it's real, and they've that one scene where it's all real stunts, but they add this big tornado and stuff. Same with Mission Impossible when they're in when they're skydiving, and it's Tom Cruise is really skydiving, but they add all this storm clouds, and so it looks CG. In the 2005 one, there is also practical stuff, but they put this weird CG sheen and After Effects and all this stuff where it undermines the actual practical effort behind it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Which is a shame because you dismiss it as just it's another CGI effect as opposed to they actually trained squirrels.
Trained 200 squirrels. Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Right, so she's gone.
Oh, I think that's cool. She's gone. We move on in the Bukkake mobile.
That's right.
A train.
Is that the cream machine?
Yeah.
The cream machine.
I like both those terms. Yeah.
It's a sort of. It runs on fizzy pop. It spits bubbles everywhere. It takes longer than it would to travel a few meters, and then they get off.
Yeah.
Is there any narrative point to that scene, or is it just
no? It's whimsy.
It's whimsical.
Okay.
It's not in the book, which, as in the 2005 one, uses this opportunity to introduce the glass elevator, which is actually relevant.
However, it is very Roald Dahl.
But yeah, I like it. It's not bad.
I like the cream machine
touch.
Bukkake mobile a lot.
Regardless, we then go to the TV room.
Yeah. Oh,
where
wait a minute,
Mike
Jamie.
TV...
One of our characters is called TV. Mike TV.
Yes.
Do you think
Mike TV.
he might have something to do with this room? Or in this room?
Well, I think because Roald Dahl loves children who watch television almost as much as he loves children who chew gum a lot, I think that Mike TV will be fine.
Yeah, probably.
And he'll make it to the end with Charlie, and they'll split the factory equally. Anyway, Willy Wonka has created a device which allows him to teleport massive chocolate bars into a TV, and then there'll be small chocolate bars, and people can take them and eat them, and he can use this to give people free samples all across the country. And then Mike TV's like, oh, I like TV. This is my character flaw, and he uses it to transport himself so he can be on TV. And now he's a tiny wee man. That's his arc.
But the good news, Jamie, is that kids are strong. No, not strong. They're stretchy. So he's going to be fine. They're just going to stretch him back out to his full height.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have that weird thin. It's like when you see people run over by steamrollers in old films, and there's a flat man. Yeah, that's him at the end of the 2005 one.
It is.
Yeah. In the
What was that thing called? Was there not a book or something about a flat man?
Flat Stanley.
Stanley Flat.
Stanley, yeah.
I was going to say Stanley Flatman.
No, sorry, Ross. I'm sure you mean Stanley, flat again.
Yeah. Oh my lord. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot like Flat Stanley. Yeah.
So in the 2005 one, they make the effort to show us that the children are all fine.
Yeah.
In this one, Willy Wonka just sort of says, and because of time and practical effects, that's just what we deal with. Yeah. And to be honest, it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some kids somewhere who are worried about what happens to Augustus Gloop, but I think it's fine.
Probably. He's the main one where you do worry.
Do we see the children at the end of 1971?
No.
I can't remember.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Willy Wonka says they're fine, and that they've maybe a little wiser for the experience, very condescendingly again.
In 2005, when all the children are covered in chocolate and rubbish, etc., it's weird. There's still a crowd outside Willy Wonka's factory.
I think, given the
and I can accept that. I suspend my disbelief. But if you think about it, it's why would they still be there?
That's true, but I guess it's so impressive.
They want to hear. It's probably reporters and stuff.
They want to hear the stories, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yes, like in the 2005, I guess the thing is that like in the 2005 one, Augustus and Veruca will be fine after a bath, and then like Violet and particularly Mike TV are permanently scarred by the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless,
we
get to the end of this
next?
film we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you know,
the aesthetic of both, but I think the aesthetic of the 1971 Mike TV room is really cool. I really like the aesthetic in there.
It's basically the same in the 2005.
Yeah, and it's basically the same. I like it as well in the 2005 one.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get to the end of the tour, and Willy Wonka's like, "Oh, you're the only one left. You know, well done.
Cheerio.
You can see yourselves out." He's a bit brusque, but you know, he's perfectly polite. He's just, you know, he's not given the extra touch anymore, and he sort of goes into his office, which is a half room.
It's such a great room. It's a fantastic room.
It has been vehemently denied has any symbolism. It is. To quote
What would it be symbolism for, though, Jamie?
Well, Willy Wonka's mind, I think, is what you'd assume.
Okay.
Or state of mind. You know.
Fair enough.
Cool.
I don't think it's an unreasonable interpretation, but it is one that has been expressly rejected by the creators of the film. Anyway, Grandpa Joe's like, "Well, this ain't right. What about your lifetime supply of chocolate, Charlie? You were promised that. And, you know, let's just go back and talk to Willy Wonka for a bit. Maybe he's forgotten. I don't know why he's being so rude to us." And then Willy Wonka reveals that they stole fizzy lifting drink, and so they don't get anything because they broke his rules in the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Grandpa Joe shouts at Willy Wonka, and he's like, "Oh, You've ruined a young boy's dreams, Charlie. Let's go and sell that everlasting gobstopper to Slugworth."
Yeah.
He says this aloud, quite interestingly. But
yeah, he does.
Regardless,
yeah.
Is Slugworth in the canon of this film? Obviously, they've got Flake Slugworth. Is Slugworth a real guy who's just being,
because like, the other characters?
This guy's pretending to be Slugworth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No one knows what Slugworth actually looks like, and I guess that's the strength of a pre-internet world.
Yeah. That's fair, yeah.
But yeah, so Charlie and his big character moment, baby. The 2005 one, his character moment is choosing to stay with his family instead. In this one, it's that he's pure-hearted and returns the gobstopper. And Willy Wonka says, "It was all a test. That's not the real Slugworth. I hired him. To test you and offer you money for the gobstopper, so I knew you were loyal, and to chase away Tom and Jerry, those interfering animals."
I hope that's his real arc in Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry in the film, he is so worried about the possibility that Tom and Jerry will interrupt him and Willy Wonka's plans that he spends the entire film chasing them. And he's like the foil, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's his thing. And he has a little spiel about how he needed to make sure that Tom and Jerry didn't interfere. That was his thing.
Nice.
Anyway, Charlie gets to the factory, and Willy Wonka says, you know, "I hope you remember what happened to the little boy who got everything he ever wanted, Charlie. He was happily ever after." And that's the film.
He lived happily ever after.
He did. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think what this film was missing was a resolution to Willy Wonka's unresolved family history not brought up in this film.
No, I don't think so.
So in a parallel dimension where we live in the world of 2005, and I'm doing this podcast in the year 2055, Willy Wonka says that Charlie can have the factory if he abandons his family. And Charlie says, "No, I love my family. That's my defining character trait. It's not necessarily my honesty, it's my love for my family. And I'm a bit of a blank slate character, so it doesn't really matter what's my defining trait, as long as it's something that's good."
Charlie doesn't have a character really in the 2005 one. He doesn't have moments.
Or in this one, don't give him a pass in this one.
He has many moments in this film where he
loves Wonka. He loves Wonka bars.
I'd say he likes Wonka bars more in 2005. He doesn't seem to have any particular loyalty in the 1971 one. He just likes sweets.
I'm just
1971 one, he has multiple opportunities to prove himself, and he does. He constantly is like his honesty is done earlier on when he's asked, "How many Wonka bars have you eaten, Charlie Bucket?" And he says 2. Not, he could have lied, and the guy assumes that he said 200, and he says no, 2.
The guy,
That's honesty.
Freddie Highmore isn't a liar or anything. It's not like he's not established that he doesn't love his family in that film.
I don't dislike Charlie in 2005. I just think he's a bit of a blank slate, more so than.
I genuinely cannot believe that you were trying to say that Freddie Highmore and Charlie is more of a blank slate than 1971 Charlie. I mean, neither of them are winning a charisma prize.
No. I mean, I'll agree with that. It's just that, like, in 1971, he has multiple moments where he's able to, like. He's able to do an action that proves his character, if that makes sense.
I like Freddie Highmore as a child actor. I think he does a good job in this. I don't really think the 1971 Charlie does that well.
He has nothing really. He's no material to really work with.
I really specifically like Freddie Highmore's chemistry with Willy Wonka in the scenes where they're arguing. I don't like it when they agree. I don't think it's as good. But I like
that scene. The scene at the end where it's like, I want a strawberry something with licorice, a strawberry kite with licorice. Yeah, it's just, it feels so forced. It feels very forced.
The thing is, it's never really established why Wonka would ever respect Charlie or value his
Charlie
ideas.
has, like, an imagination. Well, actually, they do have him build his factory, yeah.
I was about to say, in the 1971 one, they established that Willy Wonka wants a blank slate that he can, like, indoctrinate. And whilst it does sound a bit weird, it does sort of explain why he might be interested in Charlie Bucket, a boy whose main skill proven is doing what he's told and not questioning authority. You
talking about indoctrination has led me to my least favourite fan theory of all time. Well, one of my least favourite fan theories of all time, which is the whole thing that... have you ever seen Snowpiercer?
I love Snowpiercer. I know there's a theory that it's a sequel to Willy Wonka,
actually,
and I refuse to listen
Bucket
to it.
is actually... who's the guy? It's Ed... It's the guy from the Truman Show. I should know this because Truman Show is one of my favourite films. It's like Ed Harris or Ed Harris, yeah. Ed Harris's film character who designed the train is actually Charlie Bucket, and that's my least favorite. People need to stop connecting media. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a sickness.
Just have the film and that's fine.
Snowpiercer rules.
Yeah.
It does.
And then it's a nice little ending. And the music's great at the end as well.
But yeah, in the 2005 one, they go visit Christopher Lee. He's a dentist. He and Willy Wonka didn't get along because Willy Wonka liked chocolate. He liked being a dentist. But now he remembers, and they have a wee hug, and everything's resolved. And then
there is a great shot in the 2005 one from inside the mouth, and you can see, like, the tongue and Christopher Lee. I really like that shot. It's a great shot.
I like Christopher Lee a lot. I don't really like that this character arc is here, but I like Christopher Lee a lot, and therefore I sort of forgive it because it means that Christopher Lee can be in the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Either way, both films end. I think we've given quite extensive thoughts of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think we've done quite a lot.
A certain Mister is getting quite impatient, but
Me?
regardless,
well,
possibly.
I think we've been recording for more than 2 hours.
Good.
You can edit it down.
No,
absolutely not.
We're doing it live.
How much time do you
have? But I cut out my awkward comments about my assistant earlier.
No, absolutely not. How are we going to rate this film?
We're moving straight on to ratings. You don't want to give an overall opinion? You're not ready?
Duncan, what do you think about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I think it's a Criterion collection.
See, Duncan has given a rating, Ross, despite being explicitly ordered not to.
Do you have a fun gimmick? Like I give.
We do have a gimmick rating. Would you like me to explain it to you?
I hope you do the 5 bags of popcorn from On Cinema.
We don't. Well, we do have a 5-point rating system, but it's not a 5-star rating system. It's a very important distinction.
It's a 5.
So
points of purchase. No, that's not.
Yes.
Right. 5
bits of advice that could be given. Okay, Ross. Lowest rating. Don't watch it. Okay.
Avoid it at all costs.
Then there's watch if it's on, which is like if someone else in your family or a flatmate is watching it, then you can sit down with them and you'll enjoy yourself more than if you sat staring at a wall.
Yep.
Free is stream it, which so the advice is to actively seek it out and stream it, but don't pay money for it. That's the idea. It's on a service you already have. 4 is buy it, so that's like actually rent it from Amazon or buy the DVD or whatever. And then the 5th point is to buy a Criterion collection, which is our shorthand for saying that you should spend extra money on it. So you should buy like a really nice DVD or like merchandise, or you should invest part of your personality in the film, such as its goodness.
Yeah.
I would go for the top rating, but they have got the remastered versions in streaming.
Well, we don't
We
really
don't
focus
base
much
it
on
in
availability.
But there's no
reality.
nuance. I rate it 5 bags of popcorn.
Okay.
Criterion
So Ross,
Collection.
you would
There's my
sincerely
arbitrary
go up to
third
someone on the
party.
street and say they should buy the Criterion Collection, the hypothetical Criterion Collection release.
How much is the Criterion Collection DVDs?
In my mind, it is £20. I don't think that's actually how much they cost.
I think for Criterion Collection, we normally recommend that people spend £60 on the film overall.
£60, mate. Oh my
It's supposed
god.
to be a lot. Was it a genuine financial commitment? As
Is that
much
not what
as
we
a
said? Is that
video
not what we
game.
said,
Things
Jamie? When we first did it?
I don't remember saying that, but it's about right.
This is a film that you would come back to again and again. So I think a good quality DVD or VHS would be a worthy purchase. Yeah,
So
is that a
Criterion
buy it
Collection.
or
that's a
Criterion
buy it.
Collection?
Oh,
That's
right.
buy a Criterion Collection.
Okay, so you're going to Criterion.
VHS.
So that's
Criterion
2
Collection.
5-point rating. It's not a 5-star system. I'm just trying to explain it to Ross because he's new.
Right. Come on, Jamie.
I would say buy it. Maybe.
Oh, good.
I don't know.
I thought you were going to say like stream it or something stupid like that.
Low buy it, I think. Maybe not.
No,
James,
stick
this is
with
the
buy
greatest
it.
film of all time.
Right. What about 2005?
I enjoyed it enough.
What about
We'll say buy
2005?
it.
What?
2005.
Stream it, so you can
I would
appreciate
say-
the original.
I would say buy it, but a stronger buy it.
I'm going to say watch if it's on, but a high watch if it's on. No, I might say no. I'm going. Yeah. No, I'm going to say that. Watch if it's on, but a high one.
Fine.
Cool.
You know what you
Right.
should watch?
What?
We-
You should
been-
watch Ed
Sorry?
Wood because it's the same. Willy Wonka from this is basically Johnny Depp's character from Ed Wood, which is Tim Burton's best film in my opinion, and it's a
It's,
much better film in every way.
It's also Roger Ebert's opinion. I know.
Oh,
Really?
As
Nice.
a Roger Ebert fan, yes. So Ross, usually Duncan, I'm sure doesn't want to do this week, and I will indulge him on that. But usually Duncan and I would talk about what media we've been consuming the past week. As this week's special guest, would you like to talk about some films or video games or whatever you've watched or consumed in the last week?
Well, I've
more than a week. It doesn't have to be a week.
if I go in my Netflix, most recent thing I watched was The Haunting of Hill House, which was one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Very nice.
I've got The Big Lebowski on there. I've got
Ah.
Us. I've been watching Loki. Watched The Death of Stalin the other day.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, Loki. I'm liking Loki somewhat.
Yeah.
I've not been.
I
I've
think
not
it's
been
better
watching it at all.
Neither have I, but I
the
remember you were
Disney-
very cool on the other Marvel TV shows.
The Disney,
so-
Disney, the other ones, the One Division started off fine. I really liked because it was fresh. It'd been a year off from Marvel stuff. It came in, it was really unique, and then they just went into Marvel people punching each other schlock.
Yeah.
And then Falcon and Winter Soldier had some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in my entire life, and it completely ruined the show for me, especially the ending of that show, which is a shame because the themes they were talking about were really interesting. And Loki's basically like Doctor Who, but in the Marvel universe, which is
Yeah,
good
see,
because Doctor Who's been ruined by Chris Chibnall. So
Yeah, I've not.
Hasn't
I
been
used to
ruined by
like
Whammon.
Doctor Who, but then I kind of went off. I kind of went off it. But I don't know if I went off it because they changed the writer, or just because I like stopped enjoying it.
have you seen any of the new Doctor Who?
No,
it's-
not
I
new.
never watched it.
I can't remember when I last watched it. to
It's
be honest.
really cringy. Like
Yeah.
the Doctor is like, there's a one with these spiders, and the Doctor is like, no, we can't use guns to kill these ones because guns are bad.
Yeah.
Let's let them suffocate to death instead. And it's very much that thing of like they're pushing towards the Americans. It's like guns
Yeah.
are bad. You know, that's, everyone in the UK thinks that.
That's a famous American opinion. Yeah.
It's a famous, you know, it's like that's trying to push American social commentary because of course they need the BBC America money.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they had their season finale when they, you know, from 2005 up until now, the whole thing has been, let's get back to Gallifrey, let's get back to the Time Lords. They worked on that for however many seasons. Then Chris Chibnall was like, no, we're gonna destroy Gallifrey. We're gonna kill all the Time Lords. Time Lords don't matter. The Doctor's older than the time. It's like, what's the point?
Cool.
What's the point at this point?
Good.
So apart from that, go out there and buy Ratchet and Clank 2 for the PS2. Don't buy Rift Apart. Buy Ratchet and Clank 2. That's my advice to all the people, all the 9 subscribers at the moment.
Nice.
Thank you. We love them, each and every one of them, especially Barry.
Cool.
Yeah. Fine. I think Duncan is quite keen to watch a football game, and I like to indulge Duncan in these little.
It's more that we've just been recording for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Do you guys not feel a bit like?
I mean, you need a fun title for this, like the. I don't know.
I would just like to say that I have spoken for the most out of any of you, and I am quite tired.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Regardless, I have one remaining job. As I said, I don't think me and Duncan will record another episode this week because we're recording this on the Wednesday, and it'll take time to edit, and we'll just get all out of whack. And like the film that came out this week isn't that important, but we do have a genuinely artistically important, extremely controversial film for the week after that, which is Ken Russell's The Devils, which is a famously violent and sexual and explicit film. That we will have to use niche streaming site Shudder to access. And it was critically reviled upon release, but it has a cult following, so I think that'll be a very interesting episode. Ken Russell directed the Music Lovers, Duncan, if you remember that, the one about Tarkovsky.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So it'll be the return of his delightful style.
Good, well I quite like that, so that'll be good.
As we watch a bunch of nuns be assaulted.
Nice. That's my favourite.
Yep.
Okay, well,
cool.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you, Ross, for popping on the poddy.
Thanks, enjoyed your company. Me. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Anytime at all.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.